Hello and welcome to episode. Honestly, I'm not sure. I'm thinking. Oh, let me guess. 235.
You're ahead of yourself. It's 231.
231. Ah, that was my first guess. I just did it. I did it.
That's 8 weeks worth of episodes.
Dang.
You put us way ahead. But anyway, yeah, it is episode 231. I'm Jason.
I'm Angel.
And I finally got my hands on a copy of Ring Fit Adventure.
Congratulations. And your name is?
I'm Kevin.
Did it actually arrive yet? Do you actually have it?
No, but I did get the confirmation that it's being shipped. I think it probably gets here today, but I won't be here. I'll be at work.
Watch tomorrow. Well, they're like, a cube has been discovered. Everyone is free to go anywhere.
Oh, man.
Yeah, watch after all that. But yeah, they're restocking it everywhere, so I'm glad you're able to get it before all the masses, attacked it like a zombie horde.
I had to set push notifications for Wario64.
Oh, on Twitter?
Yeah, on Twitter.
He's kind of the best. He's so good at spying these things.
He absolutely
I've gotten
is.
so many deals.
Yeah, he's like the Amiibo news of everything.
Of literally all gaming and movies randomly.
I remember when that tweet was relevant, or that Twitter account, and now it's like...
When Amiibo were relevant?
Yeah.
Well, if you want to win some irrelevant Amiibo, if you go around Nintendo's Twitter right now, we got them. You can win them.
Please enter the contest.
15 of them, $150 value.
Not because this podcast needs more exposure. Mainly because these things are ruining my life. I need to get rid of them.
It's fitting that we're doing the contest right now because this whole episode, it's kind of like this would be our E3 episode. This would be our E3, the one that follows up E3. Obviously, there is an E3, but in this weird alternate timeline we're in, we still have our swag to give away in the form of these Amiibo. So we still have an Amiibo swag contest for E3. Actually, this whole episode is still an E3 show in a way because we're going to be talking about the games we played, the news, all that, but it just happens to line up really, really well with what E3 would be. It is an E3 Wannabe, which is why we're calling it that, because maybe it's not the same scale, but we're going to be sharing impressions that cover way more games than usual, 51 of them, because we're talking about Clubhouse games. Actually, no, 52 of them, because we're also talking about Jump Rope Challenge, which is a shadow drop, just like what would have happened during E3. So then we've got the exact same mix of news you normally get during E3. First party presentation, this time in the form of Pokemon Presents. Third party showcase and news with the likes of EA Play Live. Some newly announced indie games. We always highlight a few we've checked out, so we're going to talk about those. And in a true E3 tradition, something that costs $599 US. This time it's the collection of all the Lego Mario sets. So yeah, it really does kind of feel like a E3 show almost. So the swag is very appropriate. And if anyone wants to know about where any of those topics are in the episode, we got timestamps. Randotown.com.
So if you want to skip to Jason going in depth on all 51 of those games,
it's coming up pretty quick. The one thing we're doing still is like E3, but also our remote shows is we start.
Are you really talking about all 51 of them?
No, I'm not. No, it's a misnomer.
This is checkers. It plays like
so
checkers.
I don't know if you guys know of this game.
This is
Connect
chess.
4.
I don't know how to play chess, so I'm guessing it plays like chess.
To be honest, I don't really know how to play chess. I don't know if you knew you were mocking me, but
no, that's
correct.
why I said it that way. Yeah.
Oh, okay. But yeah, it's
my IQ ain't big enough.
But it's I think the only thing that really is missing from what would normally be an E3 episode is the talk of the ostentatious or downright bizarre stuff that happens on the show floor. There's no Fortnite giving us frozen bananas. There's no there's no Ubisoft twerking tomato on a stage for Just Dance. There's no
damn it.
I'm trying to think of some other weird ones that we've seen. Do you guys remember? I mean, we've all been. There's been some weird stuff at E3, right? It's kind of the charm of it is how weird it can get. I know one year Lil Wayne performed in a half pipe.
Cool stuff, but no.
Well, yeah, there's cool and there's weird, and it's the intersection of cool and weird is what makes E3 so special. But yeah, I guess we could just jump into what we're playing. But yeah, because Clubhouse games, you already sort of said yes. I'm going to go through all 51 games. No, but no, it's not necessarily a game where I need to list off all the impressions for every single one. Instead, I kind of want to talk about the package as a whole and how it feels as a self-contained release. And the long and short of it, it's good. Feels good. So, okay, next game. We're done. No, but seriously, it is really fun. It's a really well-done collection. The games kind of fall into these four main categories. You have card games, tabletop kind of board games, toy games, which are a little more actiony, and then motion games, which kind of feel like stuff from the Wii days. And it's really good variety. It's really easy to jump between them. So you actually can, if you want to do something like Texas Hold'em 1 minute and then jump into something more, like toy boxing or like curling, where it's just a little physics-based game, you can do that, and they can immediately go play bowling or whatever. It's all kind of like a very nice variety, more so I think than the other Clubhouse games, which is a little more focused on just card and more traditional stuff. It's not really advertised as such, but one thing I think is kind of cool is if you look at Clubhouse games as a whole, it's kind of like a mini Nintendo history lesson, because you have like the early stuff they did with playing cards and both American style playing cards and Hanafuda cards. Then you have it kind of evolve into the toys they used to make. Like they used to make stuff like the toy boxing and the toy soccer, and then it kind of evolves into what you see now more recently with like the Wii motion games. And there are occasional winks and nods to that sort of stuff. Like Nintendo points out when you're in the Hanafuda mode, hey, this card says Nintendo on it. Did you know we used to make those? And you can like unlock like Nintendo themed playing cards and stuff. But it's kind of neat that like in a way, in like a low key way, this is kind of a history lesson of Nintendo's corporate history as they grew into what they are now. But yeah, so there's kind of like two ways of approaching Clubhouse games. I guess there's the games themselves, and then there's the presentation. And I'm not going to go through all 51 games, but I do want to point out that the games themselves are really well done. I mean, they all stand out against one another. They all, they could have taken the cheap route, right? They could have just said, all right, all the card games, here's a felt table, we're going to call it a day. Cool. Okay, all the tabletop games, we're just going to plop them down on a fake table. Done. But they actually, like, each one has unique characteristics. Each card game has a different table with different graphics and different music and different sound cues. There's a game called Pig where literally it oinks every time you do something. Like, there's all these little things. War has kind of like war stuff.
Sold.
Yeah. No, but then the tabletop games, like, they're in different environments. Like when you do stuff like darts, it's actually like they have different perspectives, and it does look like you're in a room with a dartboard. Like it's not just like a dartboard. Like they did put effort in, and you see it like in little things and how, I already mentioned the sound cues, but how like you put the Switch tabletop mode laying flat, you put the Switch in kickstand mode, you put it on TV, the perspectives will reflect how you're playing to properly have the right angle and things like that. So like all these little touches they did. And, there's even little nods. I actually forgot this when talking about Nintendo's history. There's little nods to more recent stuff. Like, I don't know if you remember when the Wii U was revealed, but they showed Reversi, and they did a thing where they, like, shake the gamepad and the pieces fall. Game Explain noticed that even made it into this. So, like, they have all these little itty-bitty little things.
All the games that have a board. Not just Reversi.
Yeah, but, like, yeah, that's true. That's true. But yes, they did all these little things that really just show that they like went above and beyond. So on the game front, minus a few nitpicks, maybe like for some reason, whatchamacallit, Blackjack doesn't have splits. I don't know why they left that out. So if you ignore like little things like that, it's actually the games are really well done. It's really fun, and that's kind of just the games. But what the big thing about Clubhouse games is how they present it and kind of framing around the games. And I would say while the games are very close to 100%. Like, the framing's kind of like 90% of the way there. What they really tried to do, which I actually really appreciate, is, most of these games are meant to be played with real people in real life. Like, they're social, right? So, you go to someone's house and they show you how to play, or you watch them play and you learn how they play, and then you jump in. You can ask questions along the way. And they tried their best to sort of simulate that. So whether you're playing single player or multiplayer, they have these vignettes that start each game, which you can skip. But it's basically this recurring cast of characters. It's like 2 adults and 2 kids, and they kind of do what you would expect if we
animated.
They are little figurines with voice acting. So they're showing the game as it plays. They have these little figurines that kind of stand aside. Everything in the game, like you pick a figurine for yourself. You're trying to be they're trying to really play up the like traditional game aspect. But they have these like vignettes where they're showing how the game works, but they're not just like the guy's just not like, okay, then you put this card here. Like they're doing it in the same way that, like when we have a game night with your sister and brother-in-law, and you're like, well, how we do that sort of, we teach them on the game by just showing them how to go, and there's like jokes and weird inside references and things like that. And they try and recreate that. Sometimes it's super cringy. Sometimes it works. But the idea that they're trying to make it not just this super dry, this is how the game works, is kind of nice. And if you do still need that, which more often than not you do, because sometimes these vignettes aren't super fully fleshed out, then there is a screen right before you start where you actually can go through the rules and go through hints And again, they tried to give that some personality, so the rules are pretty straightforward. But when you get to like hints, if it's a simple game, they'll just throw in random things that are more jokes than real hints and stuff like that. But the problem is with these vignettes and everything is it's nice and it kind of gives a sense of you're like in a social setting, but you can't do the second half, which is I was saying, you go play a game at someone's house, and if you have questions as you play, you can just ask. There isn't really an equivalent to like just ask. There's no way, something that was really kind of weird that they left out is there's no way to check the rules while you play. So, for example, we were playing President, and that is actually a pretty fun card game. It's not very complicated, but there's some things that they didn't fully explain up front, such as if you put down whatever cards you need to put down. If you put down 2, the next person also has to do 2. If you do 3, they also have to do 3. And the game does not, the game stops you from automatically putting down like the wrong things. Like it won't let those be options, but it doesn't explain why the thing that you're doing this time you can only pick 1. Last time you could pick 3. You kind of have to learn as you go. And then there's little things like there's something called an 8 clear and a 3 reversal. And once you know them, they make sense. But if you read all the rules at once and jump in, you might forget what those are. And there's not really like a cheat sheet to go get a reminder of what it is. And that just seemed like a weird oversight to me, because like Hanafuda does have a cheat sheet you can bring down that shows you what the different sets of cards you can collect are, because that's a game that has all this crazy stuff about like you're doing seasons and you're doing crops and you have to get certain cards that do certain things, and they'd give you a sheet of, okay, these card sets are like the April crop and that sort of thing, or like the April whatever blossom or whatever it's called. But the fact that they only did that in that one mode or a couple modes and didn't think to make that universal just sort of stuck out as a kind of odd choice. And likewise, another weird choice is so they go through so much effort to help you feel like you're in a social setting, like I was saying, right? So they have the vignettes, and then they also have, if you do single player, they don't just throw you into games. You can actually go and play these game guides, which are different characters that also have some personality, again, to make it more social feeling. And they'll have sets of games that are kind of thematically relevant to one another. And that's a pretty cool way to get introduced to the games. But the problem is they do that in single player, but then if you go in multiplayer, they kind of just drop that. So like if you're playing with one person online, there's no way to bring in 2 other strangers online. Like that's something that like Splatoon and Smash has been able to do is, you and a friend team up with others. That's not really there. So you're just suddenly playing against mysterious nameless computers when the game's trying so hard to kind of give you a sense that you're playing with other people. Or like a lot of the games, it's probably the biggest nitpick, a lot of the games don't support 4 players very arbitrarily. Like some do. So President, which I mentioned, does. Ludo, which is basically Sorry, does. Weirdly about Ludo, laggiest game in the set so far. And all it does is move pieces and roll a dice. Like I don't know why, but all the games are buttery smooth online except that one so far. But anyway, like those do.
How do you mean laggy?
Those do.
Is it like a frame rate
like
thing, or is it like you press the button and then like a couple seconds later it...
Frame rate. Like the dice animation just lags. It's really strange considering it doesn't require much, actual effort to roll a dice. But like those work on with 4 people, Mahjong, Sevens, Blackjack, Texas Hold'em. But then weirdly, like why doesn't bowling work with 4 people? Why doesn't darts work with 4 people? Why, like what determined that of the 40-ish games they can play online out of the 51? Because obviously you can't do solitaire or any variations online. But out of the, let's say 40-ish, why are only 8 of them 4-player when there's zero rhyme or reason? Like I understand, 4 in a row, Connect 4 isn't going to be 4-player. It's a 2-person thing. Something like they have one called I think it's called Hit and Blow. It's basically if you ever played an old game called Mastermind, which is kind of like Battleship, but you're just working like there's a box and in it are 4 pegs of different colors. And as you take guesses, it tells you, you got this many correct colors or this many correct placements, but you don't know which is which, and you have to kind of work it, like whittle it down through logic to before the end. Like that one, I get why that wouldn't necessarily be 4 people, because then you each only get like 1 guess. But some, I just don't know why they felt the need to limit, and I don't necessarily know if they know why they felt the need to limit. Like, I'm not sure why that is, but for a game that's so gung-ho about we want to create a social experience, or at least fake one if you don't have one, it's odd that they then left out 4-player for so many things. But realistically, like generally speaking, these are pretty small nitpicks. Like if you have a person or a group of people to play with online, those 8 are really fun. The others would be great, but if you're just doing one with one other person, it's all great. Like no complaints really. Like I've been playing online a lot. It's been fun. But yeah, it just seems like these weird quality of life things that they spent so much time perfecting so many things about each individual game, and then they kind of just left out these overarching like ideas a little. and it just feels kind of weird. But if you do like any of the games in it, or even if you don't think you will, but you have someone that like in the quarantine times you could play with online, it's totally worth it. It's really fun. It's a really good value, and like the games are really well presented. There's all sorts of little details and whatnot. So that in a nutshell is Clubhouse.
Wait, how much is it?
It's $40. So you're paying like $1 a game, less than $1 a game.
A little less than $1 a game.
Yeah, it's like
I would
70
still
cents
say
a
that's
game.
kind of a hard sell, just because. Well, I mean, it just depends on how much you like these kind of games. I mean, could you honestly tell me you would buy this game if Nintendo hadn't published it?
It depends. If
So
it was on Switch,
so it's already went from a
it,
guaranteed yes to a maybe.
No, it depends. It depends on would I buy it in the same circumstances we're in now, quarantine and everything, or do you mean in general? Because I did not buy the DS one. And what motivated me to this one, it was a Nintendo published game. That's how it got on my radar. But it was like basically 70 cents a game, and you have all these options. And there's such breadth in the variety, like I was saying up top, because you can play some card games, or you can do something like Connect 4, which obviously is very simple. Or they have a bunch of games that I've never even heard of, like Hounds in the Hair and like all this other stuff, which actually end up being pretty fun.
The only reason I'm saying is
or you can do like bowling, or you can do like darts, or you can do table, like toy tennis and things like that, which those games are actually kind of different from what you expect from like Wii Tennis or whatever, because they're on tracks. So like the tennis and soccer ones, you only can make select movements. So it's like rapid fire, sort of like strategy, chess kind of. So would I have, if this was like 2 years ago and we were just, life was exactly how it was, I don't know. But in the current situation, it's kind of the perfect thing to play when you want to like play online with someone who you can't necessarily see all the time.
Oh, well, that's the thing. I was going to say, I mean, if you want to play online with someone, don't they also have to buy the full game? I feel like it makes it harder to sell in this time period right now than it is before, because I feel like this is the kind of game that I would honestly just assume that if one person buys a copy, everyone else that you play with could just like, I thought like that's how it works.
In
like,
person.
Everyone downloads.
In person, correct.
I know, that's
right.
Like, I thought that should kind of...
Well, doesn't every game work like that in person?
No. I mean, what I mean is, so in person, what they can do is you can have multiple switches. Yeah, so you can download something called the Guest Pass, and how that works is you have this demo of 4 games that you can play on your Switch, or if you go play with someone locally, you can, just like in real life, use one system to play, or one copy to play with everyone. But what's nice about that is if you all have your own Switches, it's as if you all have your own secret hand of cards. Like, you're not sharing a screen, you don't have to worry about seeing anything, you all can, play as if you're playing real cards. But at that point, it's kind of like, well, do you need this over the real cards? I mean, maybe for bowling and darts, sure. But what I'm saying is the fact that it does have the benefit of being online at a time when we can't all connect.
Yeah, but
almost makes it more worthwhile because you get to simulate if you're willing to put down especially since it's limited to 2 players. So if you're willing to put down $80 total between you and someone else, so we're talking 70 cents a game. It's $1.50. It's $1.50 a game.
See, because like honestly, like based on what you've already told, I mean, I don't doubt that it's like polished as heck because Nintendo does an awesome job of doing that.
Yeah.
But this like literally sounds like the kind of game where I'd be like, "Hey, Nigel, want to play this game with me?" It's like, "Oh, cool. Like, oh, you're gonna have to buy it too. It's also $40." I was like, "Oh, nah, I don't know."
Well, it just depends on your interests, I guess. So that
I mean, honestly, like the only
is...
game that appeals to me, or that seems like I would want to play, is the tank one. So,
which, funny enough, I actually haven't tried yet. That's one of the few I have yet to try. I've tried most,
just because
but it's a lot.
I love the heck out of the Wii Play tank game. So, like,
but no, I mean, I think
the other games, I mean, I did play them a lot in like around college, mainly chess, but like I don't really particularly find checkers
chess is
fun
hot right now.
Yeah, chess is having a moment. Like Twitch is eating it up,
and it's like, like I have a chess app that I could play with my friends for free, and we could take our turns whenever we want. And I'm sure there's other equivalents for Connect 4, but most of those games I would only really want to play them in person. But just because I mean, especially in these times, there's just so many options right now. It just kind of feels like.
I guess it's just a different speed of game. It depends. I mean, you have to have an interest.
It's
in
like
some
51
of these.
games. Yeah, that's a lot, but I feel like they kind of have to include that many just to make it more enticing because they know that.
Just to kind of justify
yeah.
the $40 price.
And even then, I feel like it's still like barely, if anything, not at least for me.
I don't know. I think it depends on how you look at it. Because like, you're right. They could have easily put out like, oh, it's 20 card games for $30, and people are like, that's a ripoff. But like.
Honestly, if even like the guest pass was like $5 or something, I feel like that would be like, all right, I would actually be down to do that if I'm going to play this game often with a friend or something.
Right, so it's more perceived value versus what you. Yeah, no, that makes sense. And it's one of those things that like I think the what I have found is, for me, it's the right game at the right time. That doesn't necessarily mean it's the right game for everyone. It's still, at the end of the day, like, I didn't care about Clubhouse games on DS, but this one, like, it just kind of clicked at the right time. So, like, for me, I'm looking at it more as, okay, so I was interested in what this offers. Does it do it well, and what pitfalls does it have? Which are, yes, it does it very well if you look at individual games, and it does this really great thing of trying to make it as social as possible. So when you play online, when you play against the computer, when you play against strangers, you're not just doing it's not set up to be a one and done. It tracks your performance across games. It shows you who won each. It's all about kind of making like a competitive series where you're doing almost like an Olympics of these classic games. But if you don't care about the classic games, this isn't gonna. It's not like Nintendo presented them in such a way that you are suddenly gonna convert into a fan of them. Like if you prefer, chess in person 5 years ago, you're not suddenly gonna be like, oh, chess online right now is great. But if you're kind of like, well, maybe I did want to learn Mahjong, or maybe Sevens is something I want to play.
Yeah, I guess what I'm looking for.
Then it kind of lines up.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like this just isn't what I'm looking for. I mean, it just has aspects of it. Like I would definitely love if Nintendo would make like a. Almost like a whole game based around like those toy games, like the tank one and other more. Yeah. I guess like a Wii Play you could play online, but that isn't just like those random.
They are in there though, but that's the thing. If you think about what Wii Play had, and what this had, this has tanks. It's a little different, but it has tanks. It has.
It still has that.
I mean, it has it has the target thing. The target shooter, which is literally straight out of Wii Play.
Yeah, but just getting it for that is like, at that point.
No, but I mean, I guess what I'm getting at is if you think about Wii Play, it was what, $50, but came with a controller, so take out $30.
Yeah.
So it was $20. Let's say it was $20, right? Wii Play, if you ignore the controller, and that gave you, I think, 12 games. Not the majority, but like I'd say like 4 or 5 of them made into this, plus all the toy games. So if you combine those, you're getting about the same number of games. And you could say, sure, those are $20, and then you get for $20 more dollars, 30 some odd other more traditional games.
Games that I'm probably going to touch once and never play.
Yeah, well, that's kind of deciding factors. Yeah. Like to your point, Angel, I think if they were to release just that, they'd have to justify it some other way. So you just don't like the bundle this time versus last time, like the value proposition, essentially.
I think
you'd be more into it for a controller than not.
Ooh, a la carte would have been cool.
A la carte would have been cool. That'd have been great.
Yeah, because honestly, like I'd be down to just like, I mean. Even though I do have like a free chess app, I'd probably still just get chess and like the tank game and maybe
just
like
for $1. Yeah.
Actually, a la carte would have been really cool. But it kind of goes back to, I wonder if it's the same logic as well. We were talking last episode about how Namco, for their Namco Museum collection on Switch in Japan, where it's Namco collection, it's a la carte. And you could buy like Pac-Man D-Make and all that on the fly individually. But in America, they're like, nah, you gotta buy a bundle of 12. And we're gonna make 2 separate bundles. Like, I wonder what it is about the American market where a la carte just is not.
Capitalism, brother.
Probably. But yeah, like I get what you guys are saying completely. And I think if someone was interested in this, like let's say they do like the majority of games, it is good at what it does. I just want to say that like there are some weird little things, like the multiplayer is kind of odd. I mean, most of the concerns, if you're into the core premise, most of those concerns are quality of life adjustments that can just be patched in later. Then again, it was ND Cube who developed this. They also did Super Mario Party, and we haven't seen DLC there, so I don't know if they ever will patch anything into this one. They seem to be kind of like we finished, we're moving on to the next thing type of company, but who knows? But yeah, I think if you're into the concept, this does it quite well. It's like 90% of the way there. If you're not into the concept, it's not going to suddenly convert you into a fan of Ludo, for example.
And I mean, And if also, I mean, most of you probably already have this game. If you say how high when Nintendo says jump, then yeah.
Yeah, quite literally. Yeah, that brings us to the next game. Have either of you downloaded it? Jump Rope Challenge?
I did. I had a chance to play it.
What did you think of it? Of this shadow drop that would be perfect for an E3 if it was E3, but now it's not E3.
I mean, taking it as what it is, I mean, it's a free game that was developed like essentially like at a home just for fun. I mean I think it's fine. It's great. I mean, it has a simplistic, charming art style, like reminiscent of like Rhythm Heaven and WarioWare, and I mean, you just jump. I mean, if you want to be held accountable for actually jumping, you can do that. I mean, you do it every day. It's like a baby version of Wii Fit Adventure, I guess. It's just like just another way to keep you active, I guess, if you just want to do jumping. And
yeah, and you can simulate the jumping with the Joy-Con too. Like they're not. I mean, even in the like product description, they're straight up like, if you have downstairs neighbors, just like bend your knees or swing your arms or flail. So it's it isn't a required jumping, I guess.
Yeah, I remember initially thinking. I mean, just like as soon as I heard about this, I was thinking like, oh man, are you actually gonna have to like sync your swings with the jumping to simulate? You know, like pretty much, is there a way to like fail and like hit the rope, so to speak? But you know, that probably would have taken way more development time than they were willing to put in.
But it's cool that, like, I mean, the whole thing, to your point about, it's a very, like, kind of like WarioWare or Rhythm Heaven, like, straight up. I mean, the aesthetic, you got, like, the cartoony animal, you got, like, the weird backdrops that don't make sense. Like, one day it's a cat, the next day it's the beach, the next day it's I don't even know what. Like,
I'm guessing those are pictures they took.
Yeah, or just, like, stock images they found online, like Getty Images or something. I don't know. But, yeah, it's a neat it's just cool conceptually, I think, that they did something like this. And to your point about like Ring Fit, you can sort of track your progress if you want. Like there are daily goals you can set from 100 jumps to 900 jumps. There's a little chart that shows you what you did each day. You can go in and like look at your total for that day, but that's literally it. It's pretty bare bones, and it's kind of weird that they're actually claiming they're going to charge for this starting in September. But right now it's free.
Excuse me?
What? Wait, what?
Yeah, they said it's free through end of September.
It literally feels like a free.
I suspect.
I mean, unless it costs like $1 or less.
It's either going to be $1 or less, or they're going to pull it. I don't know, but they're saying get it now while it's free through the end of September. So what I'm really hoping though is it's free through the end of September because they're going to be releasing a few others, and they're going to be bundling them up in some way and releasing them as a compilation for maybe $4 or $5 total. Because like they didn't quite do this with the DSi, but they used to have a series on DSiWare called Art Style Games, and they were a little more elaborate than this, but they were still these kind of simple puzzle games, and they released them like once every 2 months or something for like a year. And I always thought it'd be really smart of them to take all those and do a retail release of like the Art Style collection. And I wouldn't be surprised. I don't think they could get charging for this individual game, but I wouldn't be surprised if they had 3 or 4 that they released through maybe the rest of the coronavirus range here. And then they release them at the end as like the home projects or like the garage games or whatever, and they just make you a little bundle down the line. Kind of the opposite of what we were saying they should do with Clubhouse, so they should make it a la carte. Maybe in this case they do what was a la carte and they bundle it together and just make it super cheap. But I think that would be the way if they wanted to sell it, how they sell it.
I ain't digging it.
But I mean, you're not? No, you want just to remain free forever?
I mean, they're allowed to do whatever they want with it, obviously. But I think it's very weird, considering how sort of bare bones this game is.
Well, and that's why I think they'd have to do others if they were to try and sell it. Because basically I saw the end of September thing. I'm like, well, how does that work? What does that mean? So this is kind of like help. Because honestly, if they had this as kind of like an aesthetic and they did a whole bunch of games that did different things, like maybe they had a simple puzzle game, maybe they had a simple, like, I don't know what else, or they did different types of like things you can track progress daily. Like, it could be a cool little collection. Make the bunny kind of this, make different animal stars and different things. Like obviously the bunny is in jump rope challenge because he hops. So maybe there's something else that another animal is applicable to, and you kind of just cast the characters. Like they have some fun with it. I mean, people jumped apparently 200 million jumps in the first 3 days. So obviously that's no indication of how many people download it really. But like it enough people are using it that I think Nintendo, if they wanted to, could morph it into something.
I always hate when video game companies send out press releases like that. Like, whenever there's a new Call of Duty, there's been 30 million bullets shot within the first 24 hours of the game. What? What? Oh.
Well, I'm the nerd that loves numbers, like Jason Sales Corner and all. So like that stuff, like the ones I find kind of ridiculous are like that's equal to 6 trips around the Earth. And I'm like, no one measures like that. Like saying some random thing like 30 million bullets is kind of like, oh, that's kind of a funny, weird little stat. But like when they try and transfer it into something that's like actually relevant, like that's like how much NASA spent when they went to the moon. It's like, what? What's that have to do with anything? So. But yeah, I get what you mean. Yeah. And that's no indication of success either, because one guy could jump 900 times every time, and that racks it up a lot quicker. So
obviously, this is not the same thing because it's like a practical application of that kind of stat. But I did like it when I think it was a Wii Fit. Whenever you're like running in place and doing like the jogging and stuff, and then it'll tell you like, oh, you just like finished the equivalent of running from your house to like San Francisco. Like,
see, that makes sense though, because that's like a 1-to-1.
No, yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like that's like a practical application.
In terms of if 200 jumps means success, I just calculated it. If someone did the 900 jumps every day, we're talking 2,222 downloads. So
Right.
It might not be very much. Now they recommend 100 a day, so multiply that back by 9, and that's probably more realistic to. I mean, some people are doing 3, I'm sure, but like realistically, we're talking maybe 20 to 40,000 downloads, maybe 50.
I mean, for what it is, as a free standalone game, I mean, it's great. It is what it is. I do wonder, though. I did go ahead and count, like, how many squares there are after. Like, like how many... Because every day is another square.
Yeah.
And there are, like, just over 200. Like, around, like, 205, 204. So, I'm wondering if, like, when you get to that 204, does it just keep, like...
No, Angel.
Go on forever? Or is it just, like, straight up, like, you only have 204 days of tracking?
Put your tinfoil hat on for a sec, Angel. This is the company that had huge success when Animal Crossing was released because coronavirus pandemic.
Like, why even have that oddly specific number of days available? Why not just like have it limit to like 5 and then just have it increase by one every day?
That's what I'm saying.
It's not like I could select one and just like arbitrarily skip a bunch.
Angel, you got galaxy brain this. If the company that only had Animal Crossing blow up because of coronavirus is telling you only need to worry about this at-home game for 200 days, they will be, the same way they put coronavirus out in the world, taking it back. So in 200 days, quarantine's over. That's what Nintendo's saying. Clearly.
How many is that in? Is that like 7 months? Like about?
Yeah. No, I mean, obviously I have no idea what it really is. But if you want to be part of that conspiracy theory, by all means. I mean, ethically questionable, but, by all means. No, I think realistically they probably just picked an arbitrary number. Why they picked 200, who knows? I don't even know. I can't imagine someone actually playing this for all 200 days. I stopped after 4 or 3, to be honest, or I missed one, I guess, at this point.
Would this have been the next day, or did you already miss a day?
Well, we're recording this in the morning, so I haven't missed anything yet. But today would be probably day 2.
But you made it sound like I only played it for 4 days.
Yeah, today would be.
After 4 I was done already.
I kind of was. Today would be day 2 of missing it, I guess. 3, something like that.
Oh, okay, yeah. All right.
Yeah. But, and I mean, I like conceptually that's cool. Like, I just hope it turns into something. Like, art style was a cool thing. Like, even if they do these all cart for free, just like, I want more of these. I like that Nintendo's giving attention to, like, the little side projects. Because they're usually so, this is what we're presenting to you. But now they're, like, admitting that, that there's opportunity here for their developers to kind of shine in different ways.
Yeah.
So... But yeah, so that's Jump Rope Challenge. That was our non-E3 Shadow Drop. That's what we've been playing. But
the Rhythm Heaven Mega Mix of 2020.
Exactly, for way less with way less content. Yeah. But the thing is, like, every E3 or not 3, as this may be, needs a Nintendo presentation too. And while maybe we didn't quite get it in the traditional sense, the subsidiary of Nintendo, the Pokemon Company, did give us their take on a version of a Nintendo presentation. I think it's the first time they've used this name, actually. One of two, yes. Pokemon Presents. So there's another one coming this Wednesday, June 24th. Likely...
Specifically for Pokken Tournament 2?
I'm sure that's what... Is that what you think it's going to be, Pokken Tournament 2?
No, this is what I hope it is. Like, if we can go into a quick little Pokken Tournament tangent.
Yes, we can.
Like, you played it enough to remember the core mechanic, right? The shifting 2D to 3D.
Yeah.
So that I love. Like, that was super unique to that game and any fighting game in general. Just to go from like an arena fighter to a 2D, like, I thought that was like really, really awesome. The Pokemon selection I thought was also like incredibly awesome. I mean, just the fact that it included Weavile, a Pokemon I don't really shout out as much as Chatot, but I love the heck out of Weavile. Weavile's like also like in my top like Pokemon. I mean, right there next to Chatot. It's just different types. You have different Pokemon for different blah blah blah. So I love that was in there, but what kept that game from becoming another Smash Brothers is just that at the end of the day, all the characters played, I felt a little too much the same way. Like, it didn't really matter. It felt like the only difference was their animations. It didn't really feel like the characters really had much variety. Like, it really felt like there were 3 types of characters. The ones that get up all in your face and attack you. The ones that just, like, make you go through projectile hell. And I guess the ones that get up on your face and just grab you. And so it just felt like there were just like basically 3 characters you pick from. And the rock paper scissors mechanic was way too heavy on this one. Like, you're either attacking, so either people are just like holding down counter, which will beat out normal attacks, and you'll get destroyed, which means that you have to start grabbing more. But then they also have the attack that beats grab. So while that is true of a bunch of other fighting games like Smash Brothers, that is a mechanic that's there. Like, grabs beat shields beat attacks, and that exists. But the difference is that in Smash Brothers, you can kind of use that to your advantage. You're not, as soon as they throw out like an attack, there's more freedom. You're not fully committed to everyone's strategy almost immediately. You could almost sometimes throw some out just to bait something out and then actually punish them for it. And this one, it feels like once you get an attack going, you're committed to it for like the next 5 seconds. Whereas Smash Brothers, it's like you could throw out like one quick like 2-second attack or 1 second attack, and
so
then
you have to plan a bit ahead more. Like you can't just
this one is like
yeah.
It's Smash Brothers. It's like more mind games than planning ahead. And this one, it literally does feel like every time I encounter my opponent, I'm rolling a die and seeing if I win out that exchange.
Right.
Like it doesn't really feel like I'm getting rewarded for like my strategy. It just feels more luck based.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But it felt like there was a lot of potential there because I mean I love the concept and I love everything else about it. I just want.
So
it just wasn't quite there yet. Right. It was like so close to being perfect.
So your dream for the second presentation, which by the time some people listen to this, we already know is probably not the correct dream, just like my dream will be the incorrect dream, is Pokken Tournament 2, right?
Yeah. And I mean, it got ported to the Switch, the first one, so obviously the interest is still, hopefully still there. I don't know how it's sold. Maybe the game did terribly and that's not even in the cards. But
I think it did decently enough. And they tried to make an esports scene out of it for a minute there, so there might be some hope. I mean, for me, normally I would say the spinoff I want is Pokemon Snap, but we, as we'll talk about in a minute here, we got it. So now I need to think of a different spinoff I really like. And the one I keep circling back to, which obviously this also won't be in the presentation, but the one I keep circling back to is Pokemon Pinball. Like, how great was Pokemon Pinball? I love Pokemon.
Pokemon Pinball was so good.
Right? Did you get the Game Boy Advance one or just have the Game Boy Color one?
It was the Game Boy Color one.
Same. Yeah, I did not get the Ruby Sapphire update. But yeah, like, could you imagine now on Switch? Like, you know, you have the screen maybe vertical with a flip grip and, like, the HD rumbles doing all the different pinball feel. And
oh, that would be so dope.
Good. Right? Wouldn't that be awesome?
Is there a pinball game on the Switch?
I didn't play Pokemon Pinball.
Isn't there what?
Is there a pinball game?
The Zen Pinball.
There are multiple pinball games. Yeah, Zen Studios has one. There's a Pinball FX3 collection. There's Star Wars Pinball, but nothing from Nintendo now.
Well, I know Zen Pinball is usually recognized as one of the better
yeah, the Star Wars one's pretty good. We tried it at E3 last year. We got to try it out with a flip grip, and it was pretty fun. But yeah, I never really cared about pinball until Pokemon Pinball, and then it was all about it. So yeah, if they did that, I mean, realistically, they're not going to. But if they did, I'm that insatiable fan that's like, oh, I got my Pokemon Snap. Here's my new demand. So we'll see. But I think for that presentation, realistically, there's 2 ways it can go. And then we can talk about what they already revealed. But I think realistically, it's either going to be – they're claiming it's a big project. That's like all they're saying. And I think as much as the spin-offs would be cool, like Pokemon Sleep could be one of them since Pokemon Company –
oh, I hope that's not the big project.
I know, but they did a year ago spend a whole lot of time talking about it and that ridiculously named Pokemon Go Plus, only to then
Pokemon
have it
Sleep
disappear.
has already been revealed, though. So
yeah, but they could explain how it works. So realistically, maybe it's not that. You're right. Maybe it's the one thing that everyone seems to be latching onto online is Pokemon Let's Go 2 based on Gold and Silver set in Johto. I know, because around the CEO of Pokemon Company, they had all those plushes. They 2 made Gen 2 plushes. Even worse to make you really hate everything. In the bottom right corner behind him, there's not just plushes from Gen 2. There's an Espeon and an Umbreon on top of a box for the original Switch bundle for Let's Go. So they were literally placed as if they're the new cover stars. So that's probably what it's going to be. I mean, we'll know in due time. But
Let's Go is not a bad game or whatever it's called.
Yeah, it's just not what you want. You know what it's called. You just said the name. Let's Go. You know that game specifically called Pokemon Let's Go,
sure.
Pikachu and Eevee.
It could have just been called Go. Is that just what the phone one is called?
Yeah. But I love how you're feigning that you don't know to be like, oh, I don't care about these. I don't even know what they're called. You know what they're called.
No, I'm being sure. I just wasn't 100% sure. I was like 98 or something.
Yeah.
But I don't care enough to know, I guess. Right. But I mean, they're not for me. I mean, I know there are games out there for someone, but I just really want a Pokemon game to get into. And unfortunately, I feel like the train for me has just passed on this current gen. Like, I know I said I was going to jump into it when the 3rd version came out. But normally we don't get that till a year later. And because we're already getting Isle of Armor, which already came out. Yep. Also, no Chatot. It's a tropical island, but no Chatot.
Well, that's why you're not getting it. Okay, that answers that question.
But yeah, well, because it came out at the time that it did. I mean, we have like a Smash Brothers character coming out next week. I mean, Last of Us 2 just dropped,
right?
And I also just started playing. Like, I'm getting really into Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah, listen to Quarantine Chronicles, people.
Yeah, I was about to say.
It's like, where am I going to fit Pokemon in? Like, it's just not realistic. That's why I'm really hoping for like a Pokken or some kind of spin-off, and maybe I'll get around. I mean, the inevitable Diamond and Pearl remake whenever that comes, hopefully like next year, like in October, since I guess All of Armor is coming out later this year.
You mean Crown, the Crown one?
Crown, Crown Tundra. Yeah.
Well, you bring up a good point. Is that like maybe the spin-offs are more interest, and
I mean, well, woe with me. I have too many games to play.
I know it sucks, first world problem. But no, you do bring up a good point though. That maybe like for some Pokemon,
that's definitely a multi-console person problem. If you had just Nintendo, I guess I definitely wouldn't have that.
Well, I think I think you bring up
that variety.
I think you bring up a broader point, which is that if you look at what Pokemon is today, it is moving beyond what it once was. Like, you know, we weren't going to talk about it, but
I'm not just held.
What?
No, I do love that I'm not just held to the main series.
Yeah,
there's like other
like you could be. I mean,
Pokemon
are we all
games that could be hyped about?
Are we all brushing our teeth with Pokemon Smile now? Right, with that little marshmallow Pikachu like cheering you on. Like, is everyone doing that? Yeah, but no, seriously. Like, if you look at like, you know, people made fun of Pokemon Smile, for example, but it actually like if you look at what Pokemon's doing, it's really clever. This whole thing. Like, I'd say the biggest takeaway from the Pokemon Presents, more than are we getting the thing we individually want, more than do I get my Snap and you get your core game that, you know, you now apparently don't want, you know, all that. Beyond that, what?
No, to get my fix of Pokemon.
Yeah, exactly. But like if you look at like Pokemon as a brand, like it's really interesting what it evolved into. Oh God, what did I just say?
A very appropriate point.
Yeah, I didn't mean that. It wasn't intended. Anyway, it is interesting what it turned into. There we go. Like there seem to be like these three prongs of Pokemon now, because there's the core games like Sword and Shield. There's the spin-offs like Pokemon Snap and Pokemon Cafe Mix, which we're about to talk about. And then there's these sort of lifestyle apps of the brand, kind of like in this case Pokemon Smile. And it's like this small and silly thing to notice, but you can literally see over the course of this 11-minute presentation how they are defining these three prongs, and even in the logo design. Like core games, you get the Pokemon logo combined with some other free-floating thing, like the gradients of Sword and Shield, the text of Let's Go. What were you going to say?
No, I say it is crazy how Pokemon does feel like its own ecosystem. Like, you could literally be just a fan of Pokemon, and there'll be a bunch of different types of games you could play. I mean, yeah, you have your fighters. I mean, I guess technically have a racer with Pokemon Dash.
Don't count Dash. Dash is awful.
Really?
I
don't know.
Don't you rub the screen? You just rub the screen.
If we count Mario Kart on tour, that game's horrible, and we count that one, all right? So we're gonna count Pokemon Dash.
All right, that's fair. Voice of reason, Kevin.
I mean, that was during my period where I was like, controls don't suck. They're just designed that way to be difficult.
No, but what I was going to say is, to your point, it is a whole ecosystem now. Because like what I was trying to say about the logos, it's a minor thing, but it really made it stand out to me that they have three prongs. Because you got the standard games with like that one type of logo, you know, big Pokemon logo, and then some sort of fancy art around it, like the Gray and Sword and Shield or the text of Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. Then all the spin-off games, or at least like the more casual fare that Pokemon fans may enjoy. They're doing this thing now where the logo's encased. Like, it's Pokemon in a subtitle, it's in like this closed bubble box thing with some sort of texture. Like, look at Cafe Mix and Snap's logos, or even go back to like Pokemon Masters from a year ago on smartphones. Like, they all have this similar logo trope now. And then there's this third thing, the lifestyle apps, where the motif there is just a Pokemon logo and some plain floating text with like a super simple gradient. Like, go look at the logo of Pokemon Go, Pokemon Sleep, Pokemon Home, now Smile. They all have very similar styling, very similar iconography, but those are very different.
The game is still as popular as ever. So
it's like, I guess the point I'm making here, which you sort of already sort of latched onto by saying ecosystem, we talk about Nintendo's attempts to Disneyfy with like IP expansion and theme parks and movies.
Successful TV show, movie.
Yeah, but exactly, in many ways, I would say Pokemon is one step ahead, is already probably more diversified than even what Nintendo itself wants to do. I mean, like, even with the logo thing I was bringing up, like, think of all the different, like, Disney products and services and how they give their iconic characters all these different designs and different looks depending on what it is. But at the end of the day, the one thing that's constant is there's always that Disney logo above it. But you can have Mickey Mouse look like the Pikachu in Pokemon Smile, or you can have that Disney logo slapped on a service like Disney Plus or Disney Movies Anywhere, and it's still Disney. Like, Pokemon's doing that. Like, whatever it is, it's still Pokemon. It still involves those characters. It can be styled one way, they can go look another way. But it's still, at the end of the day, Pokemon. And that's something Nintendo doesn't even quite do. Like, they don't change the look of Mario that drastically, depending on the medium or that sort of thing.
I mean, it was pretty drastic when they gave him nipples.
That's a fair point. That's a very fair point.
Does Pokemon have a theme park?
A nipple? They did briefly.
They
did briefly.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, and the thing is, like, this is clearly...
they would ever be permanently added to a major theme park? Or you don't think...
I could see them teaming up with Universal eventually. I mean, why not, right? Like, you have Nintendo World, and next door you have Pokemon Park.
Well, because Pokemon is a Warner property, isn't it?
Sorta. They have the movie rights to Detective Pikachu, but Pokemon Company kept all the major rights for everything. They're still the key center. Yeah, and I mean, like, it's smart of them. They had their second best year ever, the Pokemon Company, this past year. They made, like, $143 million or something off just Pokemon. It's 15% higher than a year ago. And it's the highest it's been since they launched Go. Like, they're clearly this pronged strategy and keeping all their IPs close to the chest and all that works really well for them. So I think whatever they end up doing, like, they got it down cold. Like, it's interesting. And it's silly that it took a couple logo designs to make me notice it, but personally, it's very interesting that they're doing this. So yes, there's a lot of different Pokemon things for a lot of different people, and I feel like the presentation, at least, the games they announced so far are the spin-offs. Those are the interesting ones, and the big one, of course, was Pokemon Snap. And man, have I been wanting this for a long time. What did you guys think of Snap? Are you even Snap fans? Where do you stand on the Snap spectrum?
I mean, hot take of their reveal was, oh, I guess that's cool.
That's the cool. That's like the most like cool hot take I've ever heard.
I mean, it was just like, I mean, it was also kind of like a little bit of that, and like really now it's like when I don't care anymore, because I mean, I love Pokemon Snap. I'm sure like a lot of people do. Like, I played the heck out of it on the N64. Would replay levels all the time. Would just love looking at certain Pokemon. Like, in some runs, I would just stare at them and just see them animate, because they were all like doing things that you wouldn't even think like Pokemon would do. I don't know. It was awesome, and I feel like for me, like, the desire to want a new Pokemon Snap was at its highest on the Wii U around the time that Toad's Big Adventure Tracker.
Captain Toad Treasure Tracker. Toad, is he Pee-wee? Toad's Big Adventure?
I like Toad's Big Adventure better. So yeah, like when Toad's Treasure Tracker came out, there was like a segment where they were like, oh, you could be Toad in a minecart and you move the camera around and you could like see the environment and like shoot stuff at people. And I'm like, well, this looks like it could have been perfect for Pokemon Snap. Like, I want a Pokemon Snap on the Wii U. It seems like perfect, so you could have like the screen on the TV. Always showing you straight ahead on rails.
This was,
and then with the gamepad, you could move around. You could literally just like, literally look around your environment. It'd be like perfect. You have the camera. It'd be perfect. But then it just never happened. And I guess at some point I was just like, that would have been like ideally perfect, but whatever. I just kind of stopped caring. And now it's just like kind of like my previous point to why it can't play Pokemon Sword and Shield. There's just too many other games out for me to be like, oh man, I gotta play this now. Like, it went from a day one purchase to now, get at the end of the line, buddy.
Well, two things. One, it doesn't have a release date. It could come out in 2021 for all we know, so you might have a gap to play it in. Two,
I'm sure I have enough games to keep me busy until 2022.
Yeah, maybe. You probably do. Yeah. As I say, two, we are on totally the same wavelength, because that was my exact reaction when it was. Well, I'm super excited for it, but the reaction of this would have been better on Wii U.
I mean, I think it's awesome. I'm happy that it's getting made, but it's just like, I can't really play it right now. But
I had that exact same it needed to be on Wii U feeling. Like, it just, like, the setup, the dual screen setup with Wii U was just so perfect for it. And it's kind of a bummer that, like they can do some of it, because you still have, like, the key thing with the Wii U experience, I think, you would always have your bearings moving down the track forward. So it's like you're in an actual Safari vehicle and you're looking around, but you're still moving forward. You can still see what's up ahead. That would have been ideal. But, like, you do have the Switch in handheld mode as a gyro controller. You can still kind of pretend you're using a viewfinder, but like, Wii U would have been perfect. I mean, Labo, if they were to integrate Labo, I think that's the best option we have now. It's a kind of close second. I mean, first of all, there's the fact that it would be actual like 3D. I mean, grainy 3D, but actual like stereoscopic 3D nonetheless. And then like having, Labo VR Shell already have a button where a shutter button would be is kind of perfect. So they could have done that.
Yeah, the Labo does give that some kind of excitement.
Yeah, the thing is, I don't know if Nintendo's going to do that, because like Labo VR, or really Labo as a whole, like it didn't really light up the charts for them, and they used it for STEM stuff, and they used it for, I agree, but knowing Nintendo...
Oh yeah, let's add freaking VR support to Smash Brothers, where you can't even play while using the VR, but...
Wait, you
can't? And see, that's the thing, is knowing Nintendo...
Yeah, you can't play, you're supposed to watch replays and move the camera around.
Yeah. But like knowing Nintendo, they're gonna be like, well, that
because that's what
Yeah, they're gonna be like, well, that didn't work. Guess no one wants Labo VR, even though, you know, they did the STEM stuff, they did like the school programs. But when was the last time Nintendo mentioned Labo? When was the last time we came up in a financial briefing or a sales chart?
I guarantee you, even if they just sold the camera thing by itself, people would obviously buy
that. That's what I'm hoping.
I bet you Jason
Here's
knows the answer to the question that he just asked too.
I do not, actually.
Okay.
They had not said.
I thought you were going to pull
No, but here's the thing.
Oh, it was last.
No.
Talked about it on...
No. Oh, when was it last talked about on the financial? Like a year ago?
Okay. I thought you were going to have the exact date.
No, I should have. That would be very on brand for me, but I did not think of that. But yeah, no, like seriously, it's basically dead in the water, so they could try and revive it, but knowing Nintendo, you know, every time you think there's an easy choice for them to make, they somehow make the opposite choice. So I don't know what that means in terms of if it will get Labo VR, but I will take Labo VR as a substitute for it not being on Wii U at this point. Like, I'd rather still have Snap. Actually, one thing I really think would be cool, which they're not going to do, if we're talking pipe dreams here, I think it'd be cool. Like, one of the things about Pokemon Snap, the original that I was actually into, was going to get the physical photos. Like, I still have them in my closet, like the little sticker sheet where you print out your photos at Blockbuster, and I still have my little payment card. It was Jigglypuff on it, and you know, stick it in and pay. I have all that. Obviously, in this day and age, most people are going to share digital photos digitally. They're going to, you know, at bare minimum, I assume Pokemon Snap's going to have some mode where you can very easily go post to Twitter. You know, maybe it just hooks into the share button in the same way that, of all games, Cookie Mama Cookstar does really well. But it would be kind of cool if somehow they had a deal with like Shutterfly or Snapfish or something. You could like order prints or like photo books of or stickers or postcards of your in-game photos. I can think of a million reasons why Nintendo won't do it. You know, kids ordering items without parents' permission inside a Pokemon game, that's crazy. But it could be a cool, like, little modernization of one of the defining features of the original, or at least how it was defined to me. So I'm kind of hoping they do that. I know they won't.
I mean, it is pretty easy. Even if they don't do it, I mean, it is pretty easy to just upload.
Yeah, it's not the same. Because, like, imagine if they, like, you know, they made a deal with Shutterfly and they actually, like, make special, like, books, like, cover, like, fake leather, pleather, like, Pokemon branded books and stuff. Like, it could be really cool. But, yeah, you're right. I could always just grab an SD card. But, yeah, because, like, that was weirdly, like, Pokemon Snap is such a weird game if you think about it. Because, like, like, people have been wanting it for a long time. I mean, Angel, you already came and went in wanting it. And it's weird because, like, if you stop and think about Pokemon Snap, it's one of those, like, weird black sheep of gaming that somehow was exactly not what people wanted initially, and then suddenly became this thing that, like, everyone clamored for. There's a few games throughout, like, Nintendo's history that do that, but if you, like, think about it, like, go back to, like, what is it, 1999, Pokemon Frenzy's, like, the peak of Pokemon Frenzy for the first time. And Nintendo has this system. They can make 3D games. All those little sprites, all those pixely Pokemon. Like, imagine them in 3D on your TV, 50 inches. It's awesome. And then they announced Pokemon Stadium. It's like, whoa, look at the battles, look at the effects. And then they essentially go like, ha, just kidding. What if we give you 63 of those Pokemon? And all you do is take photos of them. And, like, even as a kid, like, even when I was 10, I could see right through it. I, like to me, it felt like a cash-in on the craze, even as a 10-year-old. You know, way to get people to buy something Pokemon for their N64s while they wait for Stadium. And yet I did buy it. And then I started to really love it. And then, you know, in the same way that, like, Pokemon Go or Detective Pikachu is all about, you know, kind of presenting the Pokemon world to me in more and more, like, lifelike ways, which is why I love those things. Like, Snap was kind of the originator of that. And then I got super into the Blockbuster thing and started making the photos and all that. So it's just odd to me if you stop and think about Pokemon Go conceptually. Like, right from the start, it's not what people wanted. They wanted a core Pokemon game, like Angel, you were saying. And yet, then Nintendo's like, nah, we're going to do it anyway. And now it's, like, one of the most sought-after things. And it was, like, trending all day on Twitter. And it was this bombshell of an announcement. And, yeah, it's very reminiscent to me of, like, how other Nintendo releases evolved. Like, think about, like, when the GameCube launched. And it was Luigi's Mansion. Everyone was like, wait, no, this isn't Mario. We need a Mario. And then it's now a multi-million selling series with 3 games that keep getting better. Or, like, even Wind Waker, not quite 1-to-1, but, like, oh, Zelda, no, we don't want that, it's horrible. And then it's now a really well received Zelda game. It spawned an awesome, equally well received HD remake on Wii U. So it's just funny how these things kind of evolve. And I don't know what got me on this tangent, but I just find it kind of amusing that, like, something that was definitely sort of shoved out the door, just like whatever, turned into, like, one of the most sought after things. So much so that we're seeing here, even when it's announced, being like, but it wasn't announced on the right system at the right time. Like, it needed to be this. We're so into it. It needed to be exactly like this. It's just funny how game franchises evolve, I guess.
Where is my Hey You Pikachu sequel? That's
it was on the Wii.
No, we are,
or on the
we are
GameCube.
not. We're not counting those. We're not counting.
Did
we're
you
not,
like
we're,
Hey You
we're not
Pikachu?
counting Pokemon Channel. We're not counting Pokepark or Pokepark 2. I want a Hey You Pikachu sequel.
So were you into the original? Like, I guess you were.
Absolutely not.
Saying.
I was not. But I want it.
I own it. I have it in the other room. I can hook it up and
what
try
a waste of time. But I want a sequel.
So is that what you want on June 24th to be the
I want Hey You Pikachu.
The big project.
That's what I want.
Okay.
If I don't get
the
Hey
voice
You Pikachu,
technology today would be so
I'm
much
done.
better. So Kevin, when you see something, let's say like Pokemon Cafe Mix be announced, right? Like that weird little puzzle game, do you just look at it and go, why is this not Hey You Pikachu?
Exactly.
Is that what you looked at when you saw Pokemon
when
Snap?
Sword
Like,
and
why is this not Hey You
when
Pikachu?
Sword and Shield was announced, I was thinking to myself, why wasn't this Hey You Pikachu too?
Now would it be called Hey You 2 Pikachu, like TOO?
I'm done. I'm done with this episode.
Well, that's why I don't name the games. But yeah, actually,
I keep calling it Pokemon Snap too.
it's new Pokemon Snap. That's the other thing. Like that name, I know Nintendo started it, but like
I feel like that has a bad stigma. Like, don't call anything new.
The thing I'm worried about is like if they're that lazy with the name, what are they gonna do with like the plot and the character? Like, so the original game was Todd Snap.
I was gonna say, like, what if someone goes to GameStop and like, can I get Pokemon Snap? Like, do you mean the new Pokemon Snap?
I don't think anyone at GameStop's gonna be like, oh, do you mean the 22-year-old game?
Hey, maybe. I mean, especially now that more people will want to just like play the old one again.
True, but
in preparation for
I was gonna say that. Do you have the same concern I do that they're calling it new? It's obviously half remake, but I'm a little worried they're gonna go so bare bones. Like, the first one, like the premise was really simple. You're a guy named Todd.
The first one was kind of bare bones.
Yeah,
I mean,
the
there
original
isn't
game
a lot
was bare
to the
bones
game.
to begin with.
Yeah, you could 100% that thing.
True. To my point, that it was a cash-in attempt that just caught on.
I feel like people that grew up with the first one and haven't.
They're gonna be like, "Whoa!"
Are probably remembering.
Yeah.
They're probably gonna remembering the first one like being so full of depths and stuff, and then they're gonna play this one, and maybe it's gonna be comparable to the first one. They're gonna be like, "Wow, that was disappointing. Like the first one was way better," and then they play it, and they're like, "Oh, it wasn't." But
yeah, we'll see. As long as they don't, like, my biggest concern.
Maybe they should have never remade this.
No, don't say such horrible things. No,
unless they're gonna really go above and beyond. And so far, I mean, the visuals look great. And, I mean, that's what we said.
Oh yeah. The beauty of it being on rails is it visually looks really cool because they don't have to worry about rendering it open
world. And then
world.
all those people going like, oh, why aren't these like? Why isn't the animation this good in the core line Pokemon?
It's like because you have
like
300 creatures in a giant open world versus 5 on a track.
These are like all like staged and like everything is
like that field of what was it, Tauruses and that Whale Lord moment, and they look great. But the other game actually, like I keep sort of referencing Pokemon Cafe Mix, so we actually talk about it. That game looks good too, like art style wise. What a cool look!
It has a really nice look.
Yeah,
I like how the Pokemon look.
The Pokemans, and it's sort of like this painted like Parisian cafe vibe. It's really cool. The thing I have there, the concern I have there is the gameplay doesn't seem.
How does that work as a stable job per person? I mean, how do they pay you? Do they have like a conversion? Do the Pokemon actually have money? Do the Pokemon have to beg their trainers for money? Can only Pokemon with trainers go to this cafe, or do random Pokemon, I guess, have to bum off their friends that have trainers?
I see what's been keeping you up at night. If you look at Pokemon Mystery Dungeon,
I mean, I guess if you question,
if you look at
Pokemon universe, it kind of falls apart.
If you look at Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, you dig into the what? Oh yeah. But no, I was gonna say, if you look at
or even Toy Story,
if you look, Angel, at the deeper lore of the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon series, they have a whole economy, a whole government, a whole township. Like, this could be a cafe in one of those.
Pokemon between Pokemon. This is like your cross.
Unless maybe here we go. Follow along.
Your pebbles are no good here.
No, hold on. No, I was gonna say, hold on. What if? If this is actually a sequel to the Mystery Dungeon series? Because in Mystery Dungeon, you're a human that turns into a Pokemon. So if you turn back into a human, but you decide to live like Jungle Book style and just live among them and be one of them, and this is all in a Pokemon Mystery Dungeon town, you don't know. Maybe they built their own Pokemon Paris.
I guess we'll find out once it actually comes out. I think right now you could just pre-order.
Yes, it comes out. I think the 24th. Which again, one of those things that we're talking about now that might be irrelevant.
Get it on the eShop and on mobile.
Correct. It's on smartphone and
just
on
like the
Switch.
Pokemon Cube world,
Quest. Or Cube World, yeah. No, but you know what the thing is? As cool as the style is, the questions I had were not so much about how the Pokemon pay for things, because I don't think that deep. I was trying to figure out what's going on with that gameplay. Because, like, here's the thing, for me personally at least. Every time I see those Pokemon puzzle games where they have the nice little rounded cute faces of Pokemon and they're the pieces themselves.
Pokemon Trozy?
Yes. I think back to Pokemon Trozy. And Trozy is very different than Cafe Mix. Exactly. And you're good to go. But what's cool about Trozy is they did like a thing where you slide them, but you slide the entire column or row. It's not just like you move individual pieces. It's the whole, so you're kind of...
It's like a sliding puzzle.
Yeah, it's a sliding puzzle, but like real-time move, like everything's changing in real time. And then they, it got...
That didn't give you your Pokemon Puzzle League fix?
Well, it's different because Puzzle League you do move individual pieces. But the thing I'm getting at is, so Trozy had that aesthetic and had that really cool thing, and then they keep like moving further and further away from like the Trozy light, so to speak, because then they did Pokemon Shuffle, right? And that was like a normal match 3 free to play mobile game, and it was fine for what it was. Like it was, it was fun enough. They tied in some like you're battling Pokemon motifs, kind of like Trozy did. But it was like gameplay wise more of a regular puzzle game. And now instead of going back to what I thought was really cool with Trozy, Cafe Mix, like I'm just seeing a reminder of how far removed we are, because it's still the Trozy pieces, but now it's not even like Shuffle where you're matching 3. Like I can't tell what you do in Cafe Mix. It looks like you just stir them around and they sort of connect to one another and then disappear, I guess. Like you seem to just like...
It looks like that that Disney game that got announced, that one Nintendo Direct.
Oh, Disney with the Tsum Tsums or whatever.
The Tsum Tsum puzzle.
That's what it reminded me of.
Yeah, like actually, both aesthetically and layout wise, you're right. But I don't know how that works. Like even that one's more, I think, of a structured puzzle game. Like this one, the biggest thing they said is like you connect the Pokemon, which I don't know if you just swirl aimlessly or if you draw a line and everything swirls with that line. Who knows, but the mechanic on top of it is you have different Pokemon you hire in the cafe, paying them with pebbles or whatever, and then you clear the board using their special abilities to help wipe out what's on the board. It's like Charmander is fire or that sort of thing, and that helps cook ingredients or whatever. But I don't really I don't know, it looks very scribbly to me. Like I don't really know what the gameplay is. I can't quite tell. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll find out in a few days' time, because Andrew, you already mentioned it's out this week. So I'll have impressions next episode where watch me contradict everything I just said, and it's amazing. It's the best puzzle game I've ever played. But in the meantime, I don't know. Like I just look at it and go like, this is Trozy in a blender. Like I don't know. It just visually is very cool, but gameplay wise, I'm very confused by it. But
are you put off by it?
I a little. Honestly, because every time I see Trozy, but not
the
Trozy,
Pokemon abilities look broken. Here's Charmander to just
right,
wipe the whole slate.
And like I think it's clever. It's like you're melting the marshmallows with your fire or whatever. Like I get thematically it all meshes very well, but yeah, I don't really know what's going on, and they didn't really explain it, and it doesn't look like it has much depth. And I just want Trozy back. Is that too much to ask? I know I can go get my DS and get Trozy out, but I want an HD.
Yeah, you lazy bum.
I want an HD.
Wasn't there a Trozy sequel?
Yes, there was Battle Trozy on the 3DS, which I just realized I never actually bought. So
call yourself a fan.
I know. I sit here complaining I didn't get more Trozy, even though they handed me another Trozy. That's like if they made like 7 Pokemon Snaps. I was like, yeah, but I really just want Pokemon Snap. Is it that hard, Nintendo? Or if they made a sequel to Pokemon Pinball that I didn't purchase, and now I want another Pokemon Pinball.
True that.
Yeah. So... But anyway, yeah, so that's the first party side. Like, that's that side of the fake E3. But then, of course, on the other side, unless you guys say anything else about Pokemon, I think we kind of covered all the Pokemon stuff.
I think we've said enough about Pokemon, especially considering we're definitely going to be talking about it next
week. For sure we are, yeah. So we will put a pin in Pokemon until next week. But on the other side of our, E3 wannabe checklist is next episode. 2 weeks, yes. We have Quarantine Chronicle in between. But the other thing that comes out of E3 is, of course, a third-party presentation, or multiple. And while Pokemon obviously had the highest ratio of Switch content, honestly, surprisingly, EA Play Live, which was EA's big presentation, had a fair share too, kind of, sort of. Did you guys watch EA Play Live at all?
Unfortunately.
I just kept up with the announcements.
What a snooze fest, dude.
Yeah.
EA Play,
and they did announce
consistently.
Sounds like I'm glad I didn't watch
EA
it.
consistently has the worst presentations year after year.
It's so
every E3.
Strange because they do keep changing it, but they keep changing it in like a linear line. Like nothing, it doesn't improve. It's like flat. It's just different, but still flat every time. It's so weird. Like I don't know how Ubisoft. Like props to Ubisoft. If you think about it, they somehow are very good at this, and it's really they're not doing a whole lot different than what EA's doing, but it's just enough that it really makes a difference.
It's just
because like Ubi. I mean, we'll see how their digital one goes because Ubi's is July 12th, but
it's
still
far out,
like it's just so weird how. What?
It's that I didn't know it was that far out.
Yeah, that's the one downside of this whole like scattershot E3 we're going through, like Summer Game Fest, is I feel like I don't know when things are happening, and then they just come and go, and I'm like, wait, what was announced? When did that happen? Like, I happen to know Ubi off the top of my head, but like, I didn't remember EA was going to be that day until that day. Like, there's no like cohesion, you know what I mean? Like, it's all just sort of sporadic, and there's no like,
right.
Yeah, it makes the podcast better. We have more to talk about each episode.
Tis life.
Yeah, but anyway, so EA Play, it was kind of boring, but in the presentation, EA confirmed that in the next 12 months, they're going to be publishing 7 titles for the Switch, which, to be fair to EA, is like a 500 to 600% increase in their Switch output of the past 12 months. So, good, I guess. Of those 7, we know 4 already. Burnout Paradise Remastered, which just released this past week. Another Legacy Edition of FIFA, this time just updating it with 2021 rosters, so lazy port. And 2 announcements made during the presentation, an EA original title called Lost in Random from Zoink, and notably, Apex Legends.
Finally.
I do like Zoink.
Yeah, so let's start with Apex, because that's probably the bigger of the two. I mean, all we really know at this point, actually, is this, fine. You want to do Lost in Random? Let's do Lost in Random.
No.
Let's spend a few minutes back and forth, and then we'll talk about neither, because we're running out of time. No, I was going to say that Apex, we don't really know much about. All we know is it's coming out this fall. It supports crossplay with other platforms.
Finally.
But, yeah. So all the platforms will be able to talk, including Steam, where it's also going. But in terms of footage or anything, like, we've seen nothing, which, you know, that's always a good sign when a company's like, we're bringing our massively successful game to Switch, but we can't show you how it looks. I mean, Outer Worlds sure pulled that one off, huh? So, snark aside, though, like, I don't know what it sounds like they're trying to put in effort. They didn't really say anything in the presentation, but someone was interviewing Respawn after the fact. It might have been GameSpot. I don't remember. And they said that while it's a challenge to get it up and running on Switch, they think they're making progress. They're adding motion controls. Content-wise, it will match its sister versions when it actually launches. I'm guessing that translates to 30 frames per second versus 60, and obviously a graphical decrease, which is kind of what Overwatch did. But like Kevin, you are or were, do you still play Apex?
Yeah,
I know you were.
Apex guy. I mean, yeah, I remember you were. And then you kind of started playing Overwatch again, and
yeah, like how you feel about Apex coming to Switch, and 2, how realistic do you think it is to have a good Apex on Switch?
How do I feel about Apex coming to Switch? I mean, it was a matter of time until it came on. Right. Considering it's not doing Fortnite levels or Warzone. My bad. It's not doing Fortnite numbers or Warzone numbers. But it still
has money left on the table.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it was only a matter of time until this happened. Cool. Like if Apex is a good game, out of all the battle royale games that I play, it's probably the least. It's probably the one that I play the least, but it's also the one that I have the most fun with. I absolutely adore Apex Legends. So having like a new set of players to finally be able to play it, assuming that they didn't play it on other consoles or on their PC, that's great. What was the second question? Like,
I don't even remember. I think you kind of answered both. I think I was saying like, do you still like what do you think of it kind of Switch, and do you think Switch can handle it?
Oh, do I think Switch can handle it? This thing is going to run 720 at 30 frames a second, docked.
Yeah.
So I am
undocked is going to drop down to like 540.
Yeah, and I will not be playing it on Switch. I will play it with people on Switch though. Sure, like if
because you have an advantage.
Exactly. Well, not exactly, but like you know, if
well, and the thing is, there's so many multi.
I mean, isn't it like one of those games you kind of want a mouse and keyboard with? I mean, I guess like any shooter for that.
Well, tons of people play it on consoles, like.
Oh yeah.
And it's actually really...
And a lot of people play it on PC with a console controller. I have a friend who's super into Apex that lives up in San Francisco, and I told him about the news. He's like, "Oh, PC Master Race," and he's like, "Oh wait, no, I play with a console controller. I guess it's no different." So
yeah, you get crazy aim assists with controllers. It's disgusting.
I wouldn't even.
But yeah, I do think Kevin, to your point, like in terms of it coming to Switch, it does make total sense because like there was a stat I saw the other week, or other day, not week. I think I tweeted it when I was talking about Apex actually, but Fortnite free to play, obviously much bigger than Apex, but half of all Switches roughly 5 months after it came out on Switch had Fortnite. So like that's such an opportunity for EA to expand that player base and give new players for you and other people playing on other systems to play against and beat. You know, there's a reason I think that like Paladins, Warframe, Dauntless, DC Universe Online, what else? Brawlhalla, Smite. I think there's Arena of Valor or whatever it's called. Like, there's a reason all these free plays are on Switch, and they all do pretty decently. So I imagine Apex will, even if it's not the optimal version, will probably do pretty well. Right? Seems like it.
I don't know if you knew this, but the Switch is like a very successful console, so it's safe to assume that anyone that puts their game on it is going to make a lot.
You know, you would think that would be an obvious thing, but it took EA how many years? And I mean,
very, 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 very good point.
Yeah. So, but at least the one thing they've been consistent with, to be fair to EA, is they let Zoink put all their stuff on Switch. I mean, we had Fee or Fair, however you say it, on Switch, and before that, Zoink has been a big Nintendo supporter with Stick It to the Man. So that brings us to the game that you sort of chimed in on already, Lost in Random, which is from Zoink, from EA, coming to Switch. Actually, a new release. Have you looked at it, Angel? Have you seen any footage or anything?
Yeah,
it's pretty cool, right?
I mean, it looks like a very Tim Burton-esque art style, kind of like Psychonauts-ish.
It is funny. Sorry, go ahead.
But I mean, obviously, we don't really know what it's about. It looks like a puzzle platformer.
Yeah,
maybe more emphasis on the action. I don't know. It's weird. It's like a puzzle action platformer. I don't know. It just has an interesting art style, and I'm very interested in how the little buddy dice person character plays into it. Because I'm guessing that's where the random comes in.
Yeah.
I don't know if you throw them and that varies on something, but I'm very
intrigued. Throw them and then it'll turn into some sort of weapon depending on the roll.
Way rolls.
Yeah, how you roll it. Which could be annoying to have any kind of core mechanic based on random, but I don't know. Because it's like, I need this weapon to kill this boss, but I keep not rolling it because those are just the odds.
I would think that they would do something to where like every weapon is viable against any enemy.
Yeah, but that's assuming it's even related to combat. True. I mean, we don't know.
All we know right now is he falls along and he talks, and his his mouth is also a flap on his head, like a top flap, which is kind of funny. But I do think the timing of it was funny because I know it's not full on, but Tim Burton's aesthetic is very like borderline stop motion. And last episode,
it is also kind
you were talking about stop motion.
Zoink's aesthetic in general with like Stick It to the Man and Freaking Death, they do kind of have that very scrawny, elongated looking people in a very dark world. But I'm also kind of surprised and kind of happy to see like, oh, they can do a very nice looking CG game and not just
2D.
They're very stylized, Flash 2D game.
But yeah, it's just like when I saw it, the first thing I thought was, oh, I mean, it's not quite, but Angel was just saying last episode, stop motion games, and here's one that is inching in that direction. So it's not quite right.
Yeah, it definitely looks like something that could have been, but
yeah, and it's actually like, to be fair, I sort of fell into my own situation like that too, because last episode, you were talking about stop motion. I was saying I feel like games don't, like, the art styles have been done, like there's nothing that really pops. And then I saw in passing the trailer for GoNNER 2 from Raw Fury, and granted it's a sequel that's just building on an existing look, but man, it looks cool. And like, I haven't played the original GoNNER, but like, it's a pretty difficult, intense like platform shooter, and I suck at those. I haven't played it, but like, just watching the trailer for the new art style, like they do this really cool stuff with bursts of color and splotches against a black background. And for the sequel, it looks like they're like filling in more of the color. It was more outliney in the first one from what I remember seeing, and it was just really cool looking. And I just like, of course, right after we have a whole conversation about how games aren't arty enough, we have two actually really interesting in different ways looking games that just kind of popped up. So shame on us.
Like a happier version of the first one.
Yeah, no, it definitely does, and it has like a very Adult Swim aesthetic too in some ways. But and I mean, I'm not gonna, that sort of difficult like procedurally generated platformer, I don't know if I'm gonna buy it, but I did at least shout out the art style because like, it looks pretty cool. But anyway, back to Lost in Random and EA. Yeah, it's coming out. I don't even know if they said when it's coming out, but presumably we'll learn more closer in. This was very much a tease in the most literal sense. So that does leave us essentially with 3 unknown Switch games from EA, which, if It's more than their output of the last 2 years, so that's good. But the commitment, it certainly doesn't sound quite as impressive when we sit here and go through the list as it did when they said it in the presentation.
Didn't Haze Light's new game also get announced for Switch? Or
I don't know if it was confirmed for Switch. You mean the other two or other two or whatever it's called?
Yeah, it takes two.
Yeah, It Takes Two. Other two. I'm just stringing together words now. Yeah, that's the name.
Like the song.
Yeah.
Me and you.
Yes. I don't think it was announced for Switch, to be honest. It'd be awesome. I mean, maybe that's one of the ones. Because, I mean, at this point we know Burnout, FIFA, Lost in Random, Apex, Unravel 1, the original Unravel, was rated by a Korean or Brazilian ratings board for Switch. So that's probably one of them. So that does leave us with 2. So maybe it is one of the 2, fittingly. But I think what was...
It's a weird game to turn into a... Oh, never mind. But...
I think what was... to me, what was kind of the most striking about this whole situation is, so they say 7 games, and then they announce 4, and then there's maybe 1 or 2 others, and maybe I'm misremembering that one being one of them. But they kept throughout the presentation, they kept going like, we're pleased to announce it's coming to and I was like, oh, Switch? And they're like, Steam. I'm like, what? It was like every single game that made perfect sense on Switch.
Did they actually trip up? And they're like, oh, I'm sorry.
No, but yeah, they all they went and then they waited for me to go Switch, and then But there were so many games they announced is now on Steam, and I'm just like, why is this not on Switch? This is perfect for Switch. Like Command and Conquer Remastered. I mean, Diablo 3 is successful on Switch. Civilization 6 is successful on Switch. Or they showed off an entirely original game called Rocket Arena, which granted, it looks kind of generic. It's like a squad-based third-person shooter. I mean, Kevin, what do you think of it? It seems kind of generic, right?
Yeah, I'm not touching that thing.
Yeah, but that, honestly, for the same reason we were talking about the free-to-plays on Switch, that would make sense on Switch. Paladins, Overwatch, Fortnite, Splatoon all prove there's an audience for that. That wasn't announced for Switch. But I think the most egregious example to me was The Sims. But the lack of it being on Switch, and honestly what was equally surprising was the fact that Sims players are called Simmers. Which what? That's like learning Hulu viewers are called hooligans.
Is that true?
But anyway, that is true. They call their viewers hooligans. Like in their documents and corporate stuff, like our hooligans. It used to be the name of their employees, and then they switched it to the name of the customers. But anyway, my point is EA had this whole segment on the importance of the Sims franchise to them, how it's such a massive franchise for core and casual gamers, how they're bringing it to Steam now, and I was just saying they're like, Switch. Bring it to Switch, because right now in particular is the time to strike. You have all these folks who picked up Switches for Animal Crossing in obviously much larger numbers than expected. I mean, just give a sense of the scale here. That's right, stealthy Jason Sales Corner. Just give a sense of scale here. May NPD numbers came out for the U.S. the other week.
I'll be back in 15 minutes.
No, it's not long. It's just to prove the point that they should bring Sims, because there was no major releases for Switch in April. There was Xenoblade and 2K Collection at the end of May, the last couple games. But guess what the number 1 selling console was in May? It was still the Switch. It had the strongest May of any system since the DS in 2009. It had the highest year-to-date dollar sales of any platform in U.S. history. Its install base growth is only outpaced by the Wii and the PS2. What?
Or March? I feel like this is exactly what you said.
Yes, no, but it's continuing without Animal Crossing being a new release. That's my point. It was responsible for 56% of May, or let me rephrase.
Of the U.S. economy.
Yes. In our current economy. No, I was going to say it was responsible, but it's not. It was a main driver of 56% jump in hardware sales year over year. And the software side, Animal Crossing's number 3 still for the 3rd month of tracking. It's the number 1 game on Switch in the Switch dedicated top 10. Newer stuff like Xenoblade, which to be fair only had a couple days of tracking, that was down at number 13 compared to Animal Crossing at number 3 on the overall chart. And even internationally, Famitsu's saying Animal Crossing digital downloads are over 10 million now. And in Germany, Animal Crossing is selling 4 times faster than Smash Bros. Did on Switch. Nintendo has this wave of success from this casual influx that their stock, or that has led their stock to be the highest it's been in a decade since the peak of the Wii in 2008. And as much as I'd love to keep going into Adjacent Sales Corner, I'm trying to make a point here, and that point is, what are you doing, EA? Look at this audience you have. You have a super casual facing game. You have a super casual audience right now. There's a reason, I was saying this on Twitter the other day, there's a reason Clubhouse games came out now. Nintendo's targeting that new audience they built. And you could tell they are. I forgot to say this during Clubhouse Games. You could tell they are because Clubhouse Games uses that exact same font that every casual Nintendo game has used since the Wii. You know that one font that Wii Sports and Wii Play and Wii Fit all use for their menus and stuff? That is the Clubhouse Games font. So, like, they know it's casual. They know what they're doing. So I don't understand how Nintendo – I'm sure they told EA, hey, this would be a great time to bring Sims. Like, they always want to – they're always trying to recruit and entice third parties. I don't know why EA was just like, nah, we're good. Like, it's such a prime time. And granted, they could wait a little longer, and maybe it is one of the 12-month games that's going to come down the pipe, maybe for the holidays, and there'd still be that audience there. It's not like they're going to sell their Switches. But it just seems like right now, this summer, could have really been a moment that Sims could have had a moment on Switch. And they kind of just let it go. So, yeah. So that's how I sneak a Jason Sales Corner in. But yeah, it's just like...
I don't know if that was more sneaking in than just jumping on someone from the back and stabbing them with a shiv.
Well, that's how I shivved everyone into a Jason Sales Corner.
Well, I guess that is sneaking up on them if you were able to assassinate them. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Kevin, yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, so that's kind of why I'm just like the takeaway from the EA Play presentation to me was like, okay, there's a couple things coming to Switch, but why are all these other things they're name dropping not coming to Switch? Which is probably not what they intended. But then again, I feel like I'm very critical of EA because they're one of the biggest companies in the world for gaming, and yet they just ignore the biggest platform. But anyway, I don't know if you guys have any other thoughts on EA.
The biggest platform currently out right now?
The Switch?
Yeah.
No dice.
In terms of sales in the last year or two, you could say yes. Okay, fair enough. PlayStation 4 has more of an install base.
Not only that, but
PlayStation 4 is at about 99. Xbox One is behind it.
Yeah, but like everybody's already gearing up for PS5 and Xbox, whatever the new generation's
Well,
called.
Everybody that's a core audience.
It's still called Series X.
They could put old ports on Switch and have it do dandy. They're somewhat different audiences.
No, but what I'm saying is most likely the reason, or one of the reasons why the Switch is the highest selling console right now is because who's going to buy a PS4?
Oh yeah.
Anytime
yeah,
soon?
but I mean it's on track. No, you're absolutely right. No one's going to necessarily buy that right now, but they are buying Switches, and as a result, there's still that audience. Whether it's because PS4 is on its last legs or not, it's still tracking just behind PS2 and Wii in terms of overall.
Over 3 years
console.
in, huh?
Yep.
Damn.
So. Yeah, so you definitely have a point that a lot of people are turning their attention, but there is a huge audience on Switch that there's opportunities to do stuff with and make games for and port old games for. So yeah, but anyway, what's kind of funny about all this is even though we're talking about this is kind of Switch and that's not kind of Switch and it's not E3 and all, we still have that weird dichotomy of these third-party things. We talked a lot about EA, and that completely overshadows a slew of smaller titles and indie releases and that sort of thing. And so what we normally do in our E3 show, when we have it, is we get to go and check out a bunch of these indies at a special event called The Mix on a rooftop, as Angel, you know well. And in lieu of that, the team behind The Mix actually teamed up with a bunch of other folks to make a 3-day live stream series called The Guerrilla Collective. And like The Mix, there's literally no way we're going to cover every game. So instead, we all kind of look through the games, and we're going to do what we would have done if we went to the actual event. Just highlight some that caught our eye for one reason or another, or the most interesting. So I guess the easiest way to do this is just a round robin, right? So Angel, do you just want to go first with one of yours that you saw?
Sure. Yeah, the first one that caught my eye was a game called Volta-X.
Mm-hmm.
They describe it as a turn-based tactical RPG. You don't really get that feeling from the trailer. I'm sure it is part of it, obviously, but from the trailer you see that it's kind of like a base builder. You take time to build your base. You presumably have to build a place where you get resources. Kind of StarCrafty, but I guess more like the Fallout Vault?
Shelter.
Fallout Shelter, there you go. Or it's any kind of base builder where, you have to have your resource area, build your weaponry area, that kind of stuff. Which leads presumably into, I guess, the customization of your mechs, which you use to fight other mechs. And the art style, I don't know, it just has a very appealing art style to me. I just love its very cartoony look.
It's like a
mech,
throwback anime almost.
Yeah, and the way it reminds me more of that
Robopon.
That Powerpuff Girl,
sure.
Super Monkey Team Robot Force Hyper, whatever it's called.
Do you remember Robopon?
Just without the aesthetic outlines. No, I don't.
Oh, well, that's a reference that's not worth it. For anyone who doesn't know what I'm talking about, Robopon was a Game Boy Color game that piggybacked off the Pokemon wave of having multiple versions as little robot creatures, and the art style was very similar to Volta-X, from what I remember.
But yeah, and the robots, like, while they look simplistic, I feel like the shading and the art style just make them look just very stylish and really cool. I don't know, I just really love the look of the game. I don't know if it has actual multiplayer, which could be really interesting if it basically becomes like a sort of weird Pokemon where you're building up a giant mech to battle other people's mechs, which could be really fun. And I guess maybe less stressful because you don't have to build a team of 6, but obviously the way you design your mech could have a very...
And the battles themselves are, like, correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't the trailer showing that you're not just fighting the robots, you're running between like you're doing the robot battle and running around the robot's interior and going room to room to do stuff?
I don't know if that is what that was. I don't know. I kind of took it as that was like a base, and then you also have your robot battles. And
I think in battle you're also juggling stuff in the ship.
I mean, if that's the case, then that makes it sound even more awesome.
Yeah, I'm
like
pretty sure
like an arm is damaged, you have to go repair it, kind of like you would in some tabletop games. But I don't know, it's definitely on my radar. I just really love its style, and it's
the crazy thing,
even if it's not online, I'm probably still going to check it out.
Try out Into the Breach.
Is it similar?
That sounds like that sounds like a game I've played, or maybe not, but it sounds familiar.
From the developers of FTL. No, nothing. All right.
It is on Switch. Into the Breach is on Switch, I'm pretty sure.
Faster Than Light.
Oh, you're talking about a video game. Oh, I guess I definitely haven't played it.
Just check it out.
Huh. You know what's kind of funny about Volta-X, because I looked into it a little when you mentioned you're going to talk about it, just to familiarize myself. And did you know it's from Gung Ho, as in the same people as Ninjala that comes out this week? Like, talk about
yeah, I did.
Talk about how different they are.
Kind of pops up right when the trailer starts. So
that's true. That's true. Well, the point I was going to make is that's quite a difference.
Not an idiot, Jason.
I didn't mean you were. I just meant, I don't know if the logo's in the trailer. I don't remember. Anyway, or I don't know if you made the connection at Gung Ho to Ninjala. Anyway, kind of, it's interesting how they're coming out with, their version of Splatoon, and then simultaneously, a month later, this comes out this summer, it's a month later, they're doing this kind of smaller scale, more indie style thing.
It kind of feels unfair to call it, their version of Splatoon. I mean,
in terms of scope. Actually, it's bigger. They're going to do a cartoon.
The appearance just kind of ends right there. It's just as far as
third person team based fighter action thing.
Yeah, but Splatoon's not. That's literally any multiplayer shooting game. Splatoon is just Nintendo's Call of Duty or any kind of team-based fighter. I guess at that point it's just a different version of Splatoon.
Ultimately, in a way. No, but you're right. Ninja is more unique, and they actually are going.
It feels unfair to Splatoon just to
I guess I was mainly doing the Splatoon comparison in terms of scope, because it's a huge release for them, and it's they're trying to set it up as a next big IP for them, and they even are doing a cartoon for it, which is bigger than Splatoon. But yeah.
Well, Splatoon's already they have an anime coming up.
They do.
Yeah, based on the manga.
Oh, I had no idea. Okay, so then it is pretty analogous after all, in a weird way. Yes, that's Volta-X. Kevin, you had a game or two, right?
Yeah. Empire Sin is the one that's been on my radar for a little bit. Basically, from the original announcement, it was sounding like this was going to be XCOM, Mafia Edition, Mobster Edition. And I love me some XCOM. And there's been a resurgence of this type of game, which I find fascinating, because you had this year alone, from two big dogs, you had XCOM Chimera Squad and Gears Tactics, and now you have this one, and then there was a couple of others. One's from the guys that did, I forget the name. It was basically XCOM with what's it called when animals can talk? Anthropomorphic. There we go. With anthropomorphic animals. And
are you thinking?
Then there's also Phoenix Point from the OG XCOM guys. So,
and of course Mario and Rabbids a few.
Oh yeah, Mario Rabbids a few years ago. So yeah, I think there's a really cool spin on the tactics idea. It's not sci-fi. It's not fantasy. It's grounded. It's not Mario. Yeah, it's not whimsical. It's just a straight up mob story. and I'm really looking forward to the twists, to the further twist that they add to this game.
I think one of the cool things about it is, actually, to your whole point about all these, is it's not just like some companies are doing it. It's like big name people are doing it. Like the Gears folks are doing it. The XCOM has a new one, and then like isn't this one from like John Romero or whatever his name? The Doom and Quake guy from back in the day.
It's his wife.
His project. Oh, okay. So it's him and his wife's company that's doing it.
But I think she is the creative director on it.
Interesting, and I'm sure he's probably right there lending.
Oh yeah,
got advice too. But it looks. I think if I'm not mistaken, this was first revealed actually at E3 by Nintendo a year ago.
Yeah, I think it was in like their sizzle reel.
Yeah, and it's they didn't really say much at the time, but it did kind of catch my eye too. And then I was reading up on it a little, and I guess like it's historically accurate, which is kind of interesting. So it's actually going to be about it's like during Prohibition, and you're going to be able to recruit like actual underlings for yourself that are based on real historic gangsters from the time. Like there's a whole bunch, and you have to like get into different businesses like speakeasies and brothels and all that. And then you have to like manage those. And I guess when you get in turf wars is where the turn-based combat comes in or something. I'm not. It sounds actually kind of cool. And like I guess the currency system's like alcohol. So like the type of alcohol you illegally brew will influence how much you can do in terms of like negotiate and stuff. It really sounds elaborate.
Yeah, this game sounds right up my alley.
Yeah, it should be cool. I think it's finally coming out because I think it's supposed to be out last year and they delayed it. I think it's out sometime this year at this point.
Yeah, can't wait.
But yeah, it should be cool. I guess I'll do mine now. Mine is more, I would guess, an experience than a game in any traditional sense because it's literally described as a one-button game. So there's only so much gameplay depth one button can necessarily have. But it's called Say No More, and that's literally what you do in it. You say no to people. So
more like not say no more.
It's
like,
say no more.
Say no
more. Yeah,
it's
I said
the opposite of yes man. Starring Jim Carrey.
I mean no, but yes. Correct. Yeah, it's so it's basically the premise is like you're an intern at this company run by a bunch of people, arrogant people, I guess. And they all look at you as the intern that only does what they say, but you're going to push back and show how you're more than just like what, they're yes man essentially. And you get like this, I guess, some like self-help cassette that teaches you how to say no, and then as you make your way through the office and tell people no more and more, you then get additional cassettes that teach you other ways to say no, like other languages, or maybe clapping at people sarcastically instead of saying no, or saying no louder. And then you literally just like, from what I can tell in the trailer, just go around and say no to people. And that's about it. So it's more about like your interaction and how people respond to the no's and what like the kind of like scenarios that play out than it is necessarily like the deep gameplay. But it looks like one of those kind of funny, comical experiences of a game versus more of a like if you compare against something like Empire of Sin, obviously very different types of game, but both interactive in some ways. So yeah, this seems like it could be pretty cool, and it has this wacky look to it. It has kind of like N64 meets Minecraft or graphic aesthetic. But yeah, it just seems like one of those weird things that's gonna be kind of funny to just go through. And even in the trailer, there are so many different scenarios where someone says no and the reaction from people, because some obviously like push back and then others get all self-aware and awkward, and it's just kind of funny to see it play out. So yeah, it should be out on Switch I think later this year. I have no idea what to expect, except it's probably going to be absolutely ridiculous, and I do love wacky, weird, and ridiculous, so it's up my eye. But yeah, that's Say No More, or Say No More. Angel, what you got? You have one more, I think, right?
Yeah, the other game that caught my eye is a game called Carrion. I believe that's how it's pronounced. But that game, I love any kind of game where you control like the villain or specifically like the monster, and you're just kind of like wreaking havoc, and that's kind of what this game looks like. I mean, in structure, it kind of looks like the Ape Out, I believe is what it's called. It's another game where you control like this gorilla that's, I'm guessing, escaping from some sort of facility or zoo.
Oh yeah, that's Ape Out.
It's just like and it's destroying, and it's just killing people on its way as you escape in a very stylized way. This one isn't so much stylized, but it's just like very nice pixel art, and you control this tentacle blob thing that kind of looks like. It kind of looks like what the monster in The Thing looks like, even though you don't really know what that looks like. It just kind of has the same kind of tendrils. And you're just moving around at a very fast pace, killing scientists and people with guns. And I don't even know what you're doing. It just looks like a blast. And I just love kind of how the monster looks, and just the thought of controlling this creature just seems really fun. I mean, it just looks like a game that just looks just fun to mess around with.
Yeah, I think they're
not really much to say. I mean, the trailer is really short. They don't really have much.
Yeah. You seem to sum it up well from what I was reading up on. But yeah, they kind of build it as like a reverse horror game where instead of like you were describing, you're the one terrorizing. So it's all about like I guess you're running around a lab that you break out of, and you're going like room to room, like trapping people in different ways and trying to eat them and murder them and capture them and whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, like one of my favorite things about Friday the 13th is just playing as Jason, or that's the only reason like I enjoyed it so much, or I would put up with playing as the camp counselors.
Right.
But yeah.
This one's like that, but 2D, right? Like it's like a yeah. Yeah, it looks pretty cool.
At least worth checking out the trailer.
Yeah, and Ape Out, actually, that's a game we never really talked about on the show, but there is one really cool thing about Ape Out for anyone who wants to check it out. I think it might have been part of the Switch summer sale that just wrapped up. But so it is another year rampaging as a gorilla, but from my understanding, the entire soundtrack is like played out as if it's like improvised jazz. So like it obviously isn't improvised because it's a game, but like I guess different actions you do trigger different music cues and stuff, and that's basically like you're making a like jazz song as you go through and terrorize things, which is kind of an interesting concept. So maybe as a stopgap, if you want to rampage in a totally different way, there's also Ape Out. Kevin,
good way to whet the appetite.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Kevin, I think you had one more too, right?
Yeah. What's Up Dead? So What's Up Dead? Twin stick shooter. I think it's out already. I think I've already seen it on Steam. I'm not sure if it's out on Switch yet.
That's a good question, actually. I seem to remember when I remember seeing it on Go Nintendo in passing. I want to say maybe August?
Oh, okay.
September? Something like that. But it is on Steam, I think. Yeah. Because the trailer that was attached to that post was out now. Uh-huh. So that was a little confusing.
Yeah. No, so this game looks really rad. It's a twin stick shooter. I love me some twin stick shooters. Housemarque twin stick shooters in particular. Angel could probably attest to some of those. Super Stardust HD, Resogun on the PS4. Love those games. So I love me a good twin stick shooter, and its art style is like really really cool looking. It's got this like minimalistic cel shading to it that I think looks really really slick, especially. Wait, I'm sorry. Sorry about that.
Yes, yeah, you okay?
No, yeah.
Were you so captivated by the art style it took your breath away?
No, something happening here. But no, yeah, the art style looks super cool. I think the main character looks rad. He basically looks like what's his name? Johnny Blaze, Ghost Rider.
Oh, cool. Yeah, yeah. I'm trying to remember what I saw in the trailer because this one I forgot to actually check before you recorded. Wait, is this the one that what's his name is doing the voice for?
Yes. Hellboy. Ron Perlman.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yes. I don't know. I think it looks really, really, really neat, and this is perfect for like handheld mode. This gonna be legit.
It literally looks like a graphic novel. Like
it's such a. It reminds me of if I'm remembering it correctly, it kind of has a Mad World vibe, but instead of it Mad World where it was black, white, and red, this is like shades of brown, kind of.
Yeah.
And like westerny. Mm-hmm. But it's very similar to Mad World in aesthetic, if you guys remember that game on the Wii.
Yeah, Chainsaw Man.
Yeah, from the Killer 7 crew.
Yeah, so.
Actually, that's another game that kind of looks like Killer 7.
Yeah, like I said, the minimalistic cell shading looks really neat.
It's always a very cool look. Yeah.
So,
so that was a few of, I guess, some indies we wanted to highlight. I already said my other one, GoNNER, higher up, because we were all going to do two. But there's one final topic to get into, because what is a non-E3 without, as promised, the announcement of something that costs $599 in tribute to one of the most awkward press conferences moments of all time with the PS3. In this case, to be fair, though,
it happened to them considering they dropped the mic on Sega, or was it? Yeah, Sega a long time ago.
Yeah. But yeah, I remember someone from Sony like years later was like, "Oh yeah, it was horrifying that we did that." Like that's the phrase he used, horrifying. But in this case, to be fair, it's not one thing that costs $599, and it's not exactly $599. It is a multiple set of things that cost $590 if you add them all up, and that is Lego and Nintendo, and that's 8 new expansions to Lego Super Mario, bringing the full price to get everything when it launches on August 1st to $590, which is so close to that $599 awkward moment. So that's a lot of money. I mean, The expansions, they're kind of cool. You get the Piranha Plant and the Bowser Castle ones, which we already knew about. But now they're also saying that if you buy them all up together at this... I should rephrase. You have to buy them all separately. There's no bundle. But should you choose to, you can also get the Guarded Fortress, Mario's House with Yoshi, a Toad Treasure Hut, a Desert Pokey expansion, Womp's Lava Trouble expansion, and the one that really caught my eye, the Boomer Bill Barrage. Okay. So here's what's weird about the Boomer Bill. There is no Mario enemy called the Boomer Bill. There is Bullet Bill, there's Bonsai Bill, but there is not a Boomer Bill. So either this is some sort of...
That's not what the Super Mega Giant one is called?
Apparently not. So the theory is one of two things. One, LEGO didn't want to say bullet in their marketing, but there is a Bullet Bill elsewhere in the LEGO set, and it has a traditional red back and from the canon, and Boomer Bill does not. And this thing doesn't look like the giant one that you're describing, Angel. So I don't really know if this is a play for the older demographic of boomers or what, but there is this new thing called Boomer Bill in America. In Japan, the exact same character is being called Bonsai Bill, but doesn't look like a Bonsai Bill as we know him either. So who knows why they named him that, but as one of the $590 pieces you can get, Boomer Bill. Great for the older crowd. But yeah, it's more just like that's a lot of different things you can get. And then similarly, they're going to have collectible enemy character packs in blind bags. So really that 590 could go way higher. So you can get a Paragoomba, a Fuzzy, a Spiny, a Buzzy Beetle, a Bullet Bill proper, a Bob-omp, an Eep Cheep. I don't know what that is. A Blooper, an Urchin, and a Peepa. I also don't know what a Peepa is. I'm just reading made up words at this point. But yeah, that's a lot of stuff. Like, does that seem a little too much?
Less enticing?
A little too much at once, perhaps? Does it seem like they're doing a year's worth of stuff in a day or something?
They should have.
Maybe they just decided to blow their load on this one, considering that Labo didn't do so hot.
Yeah,
like spreading across.
That's true, and they do need to recoup those 4 years of R&D that they spent on this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is, you obviously don't need to buy all of these, but I'm sure some people out there want to. And are Legos normally this expensive? Like, am I missing?
Sorry for Nintendo collectors. Like Nintendo collector completion. It's like
yeah. I mean, because like back in the day, I would have been all about this, but $600 of Legos—that's a lot of Legos. And
yeah, I'll wait for a proper like Lego set if that's even going to happen at all.
To be fair, some of the stuff here does look cool. Toad looks perfect in Lego form as is.
Bowser does not look
okay, so some do, some don't. Wait, what's the concern with Bowser?
He has a super flat face.
Wow, that's rude to Persian cats everywhere. I know he's not one, but so do they. Do you hate Persian cats?
No, because they're designed that way. I know what Bowser normally looks like, and I know what Bowser could have looked like in Lego. Like they
botched it.
He just looks.
But Toad,
he looks like a
Toad
doofus.
looks great.
I mean, some came out better than others.
Yeah, but to the point of wait for a proper Lego set. From what I've watched some videos, I read some impressions. People have gone hands on with it. It sounds like if you treat this as a Mario Maker type of product versus a Mario game that you play, it's actually pretty good. Like once it clicks, and there's a whole sharing community through the app where you can take pictures of your levels and have people complete them. They can share your score of different levels, and obviously it takes some imagination. But I feel like on some level, when we last talked about this, we were kind of hard on it. It's not for us. I think it's still the case, but at least for me, and sounds like for you. But it does sound like there is more to it than let on. And if you're willing to spend the $600, you can actually have a really, really cool experience. Versus before, we were like, "Oh, it's all in your imagination." I mean, someone made up Boomer Bill and made it a reality, so it's out of someone's imagination. But it's definitely a real thing.
The listeners can't see this, but that's what I expect a Lego Bowser to look like.
Oh man.
Wait, is there a picture I can be looking at here? Did you send something? Oh, you did. All right, yeah. I'm loading it up. Oh, whoa. So for the viewers at home, or listeners at home, picture Bowser, and then pretend that someone blurred him out just slightly enough. Oh, yeah. No, but that, where they do the pixelation on someone's face, the blur, in Cops or those old shows. Imagine if you scale that back just enough to still be able to see stuff, but not quite enough to see the detail. That's kind of what it looks like.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like he's made of Lego, like the Lego, Beauty and the Beast you see in front of Disneyland.
I mean, I could tell you, that's what it looks like. It's like one of those statues from a Lego store. But yeah, there's no way they're gonna make that. Kids are gonna choke on those pieces.
Well, then don't make them for kids.
Fair point.
They just got their. Yeah.
So you want them to make more Legos that cost even more. So 590 isn't enough. We need to keep going. Let's get to 1,000.
Well, no, I mean I know Legos are expensive. Yeah. Like, if they made like a proper like Bowser's Castle or Peach's Castle set, kind of like they did the Disneyland Castle, like those go for around like $200, which by normal Lego standards, that's just what you accept.
Right.
I mean, like the Simpsons house costs like I think like $200.
True, and there's nothing stopping them from doing tiers of Legos, like we talked about before.
Yeah,
because before we said
if they do that, like.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, then yeah, just give me that. I'm happy this exists. This is cool in its own way, but
yeah, and
it's clearly aimed at a younger audience, kind of like Labo. So
I mean, and just think about it.
I'm not mad at it.
But just think about it. This could cost more than a next gen console. So you can have one game scattered across all these things, or you can have like a whole next gen system. But no, I think there's gonna be an audience for this. I don't think anyone's gonna necessarily buy the whole set, but it does suck for collectors that want to.
Except for Jason.
I'm not buying any of it. I wish I could just buy Toad by himself. I would do that. But I have to buy the Toad house. I guess I could buy a little Lego Toad house and just have Toad sit in it. I guess, see, that's something that we didn't even take into consideration. Wow.
And that's how it starts.
But no, that's something that we didn't even take into consideration is like, I guess if you don't care, if you just want to have it, you don't need even the starter set for $100 with Mario. You could just buy a little Toad or a little Pokey.
The only part I would have wanted ended up not even coming out.
Well, no, Bowser's Castle is an independent piece for $80.
No, I would want a Bowser.
Oh, right, yeah.
But,
well, I would want
and even the
Toad, but now I have to get the frickin' house. Or Treasure Hunt expansion is what actually it's called. So I don't even know if I get a house. I think I just get treasure.
Oh, it's not even a Captain Toad?
No.
And Bowser's Castle in the set is like barely a castle. It's just like a few like spires and a big.
But yeah, it's not it's not a Captain Toad. In fact, I don't know what's going on with Captain Toad.
I mean, that wasn't its goal. So I mean,
but the thing is, like, I don't know what they're doing with Toad because like Paper Mario Origami King, there's Professor Toad, not Captain Toad. Like, how many professions of Toad? I guess all of them. I don't know why. Like, I guess Toadsworth is something else too. So and Toadette's something else. So yeah, I guess in the same way, to go full circle here, that Mystery Dungeon, Pokemon, when we were talking about how they pay for things in Cafe Mix, maybe there's a whole Toad ecosystem, a whole Toad political system, a whole. Maybe it's it's the Mushroom Kingdom. I just pieced that together. So yeah, I guess Professor Toad versus Captain Toad isn't that weird. But yes, it is weird that Captain Toad is not doing the treasure hunt when he did track treasure on the Wii U. Anyway, I think we're getting in the weeds here. Is there anything else we want to talk about? Or should we do the last piece of any good E3, which is the swag, which is a reminder.
That there isn't any?
To go. No, there is. Go to Ram Nintendo's Twitter, @RamNintendo.
Oh, the Amiibo.
Yes, and you can win 15 plus Amiibo from Kevin, including a first run Villager, which is worth a pretty penny, a Marth, a Shulk. What else you got, Kevin? 12 mystery items? Mystery meats?
They're all mystery items. You will be surprised at the ones that are missing in that thing. I'm just going to say, right off the bat, let me just tell you, there is no Mario, there is no Link. So you get what you get.
Well, in a way, that's almost better, because like Mario and Link were readily available. This is like the creme de la creme of the blind bag, like, rarity stuff.
Dude, I remember when they went up for pre-order. I think I specifically asked the Angel, like, "Hey, can you pre-order me a Link? I don't want him to be sold out," not knowing that he was going to be the one that you find everywhere.
You poor innocent child. No, but yeah, I know. I did the same thing with Mario and Kirby. Kirby's one of the very few I actually took out of the package.
The ones that I took out the package, I think, were, like I said, Mario, Link. Mega Man. I think Mega Man's amiibo looks awesome, and
it does. Yeah,
and then like 2 Yoshis because I was trying to custom paint them.
2.
Yeah.
Oh.
And
that would have been cool if you'd like the whole Yoshi story like set.
Yeah, but I have no skill, so that didn't turn out great.
I feel that. I can't do any sort of hands-on craft like that.
Yeah.
But one of our winners of these 15 plus amiibo, all in box, not the ones you opened, I assume. We might have that skill and might do something cool with it. So if you want to be that person, listener, you have till June 26th to go to Ram Nintendo's Twitter, @RamNintendo.
Wait, they're all in box?
They're all in box.
The Diddy Kong is, like, the box isn't in great condition, so.
To be fair, we never said quality of box. We just said there is a box.
They're all in pretty good condition. with the exception of Diddy Kong. Diddy Kong, I have no idea what happened.
Yeah, considering they're free.
Yeah, they're free. You can't. This is not going
to cost you a penny. I will pay for the shipping and everything. I don't care. And think of it this way. I don't care if you're in Timbuktu and it's going to cost me $50. You are getting me some amiibo. I need them out of my life.
And like, all it costs you really, it's just like when you go to E3 actually, or any convention. You go up to someone like, "Do you want this free thing?" You're like, "I do," and they're like, "Great, just do a thing on Twitter." So that's all we need you to do is a thing on Twitter. So just like, go to our Twitter and then hit retweet on the tweet with the picture of the amiibo, and then follow us if you don't already. And there's benefits for you doing it too, because then you know when our next Quarantine Chronicle is next weekend. Then you know when our next episode is of Random Town Podcast proper, July 6th. And I guess for the regular random show, we're on a holiday streak here because it's Father's Day that this one's going up, and it's July 4th weekend that the next one's going up. And in many ways, the content's going to be similar too, because we have the next Pokemon Presents to talk about next episode. We have the new Arms Fighter and Smash Bros. To talk about. That presentation is happening tomorrow. When you listen, meaning most people listening to this already know. But we talked about all that. There's new live streams from Summer Game Fest. There's gonna be a lot of news. It's gonna be like, I don't think it's gonna be quite as perfectly E3 as this one was, but it's gonna be very close. So you can make sure you don't miss it on Twitter. You can follow us on various or subscribe to us on various platforms like Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher. We're on YouTube at RamNintendo.com. We are on Pandora. And I think that's it for the housekeeping. So what a great E3 this was, wasn't it? And I guess, Kevin, final word?
I've been awake for 24 hours.